a shopping trip to Dublin city centre. For more information, call Highland Radio on 074 91 25000 or visit highlandradio.com.
Have yourself a good Monday morning, Gregory. What are you smelling yourself for?
Nothing.
Why did you smell your...
It's just a wee note.
Huh?
There's a wee note off this jumper, I think.
What's a wee note?
A wee note?
A wee smell?
A wee note, aye.
Aye. Never heard of that phrase before, wee note.
Really?
As that's a smell. Note.
Yeah. There's a note off it, aye.
There's a note of it. There's a few notes off it, I would say.
How was your weekend?
Good. I watched the Late Late Show. Thought it was pretty good. Friday night, watched Beckham over the weekend, which, surprise, I watched the 4 episodes and the one thing I was telling you. I woke up on Saturday, I was saying to you, right? I woke up on Saturday, 9:20 p.m. and says, right, I'm away to bed. And then I says, what about Beckham? So then we started to watch Beckham. So I watched the whole lot. I know nothing about football, and it was interesting.
Good stuff. Excellent. I might watch it myself. Watch the end of it, but he seems like an interesting character.
Why did you watch the end of it? It's just going to spoil it then, isn't it?
Well, it's like watching the end of Titanic. You know what's going to happen, don't you?
Yeah, but if you're into football, I would say you'd even like it even more, you know.
Yeah, well, how did you sleep last night?
I slept good.
I dreamt I was being someone taking a hit out on me. I was being chased all night.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
Liam Neeson after you. I know where you live.
Yeah, something like that.
God, that's so wicked, isn't it?
I know. We need to get this dream specialist.
Come on, I need to sit down with the dream specialist because I have loads of stuff going on.
So
silly stuff.
I survived anyway, but
yeah, you're here.
Just about.
Yeah, no wonder there's a note off you.
I've been running all night.
Yeah, and more ways than one.
Exactly. Have a great day, Lee. Chat to you tomorrow morning. It's 9 o'clock, a minute past. In fact, let's get a news update. It's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. PSNI and Tyrone are appealing for witnesses and information following the smashing of 2 windows at a house on Lachel Road, Killen. The incident happened on Thursday last between 6:25 and 7:45 p.m. Those who believe they can assist police in inquiries are asked to call 101. The amount of aid getting through to Gaza is not enough for the 2.3 million people who need humanitarian assistance, according to UNICEF. It says 17 more humanitarian aid trucks entered the region yesterday containing food, water and tents. Its executive director, Peter Power, says these trucks brought in have very little in supplies.
With the UN Humanitarian Coordination Agency, our sister UN agency, OCHA, they estimated that only 4% of the amount of supplies that are necessary came in through via those trucks. So we need a massive scaling up of the access in order to bring in, we're talking about hundreds of trucks every day to bring in the amount of humanitarian assistance that's required.
On Friday last, a multi-agency day of action took place in the Inishowen area. Gardaí from Buncrana Road's policing unit were assisted by RSA enforcement officers and custom officers in conducting checkpoints. A number of fixed charge penalty notices were issued in respect of lifesaver offences, and one driver was arrested on suspicion of drink driving. Irish people are to get more power over how their personal financial data is used and shared. Irish MEP Frances Fitzgerald is taking on a new role as negotiator of a new Europe-wide law to protect EU customers' financial data. It will ensure there are effective safeguards and controls in place so companies don't use personal data against their will. Frances Fitzgerald says the legislation will see the right rules in place for services like pensions and insurance.
Within 2 years, we will have a framework for data access and we'll have proper regulation in this area. We already have it in relation to banking. We now need to have it in relation to all of the other services that citizens, that individuals buy from companies, and they need to be sure what's happening to their data.
A free flu vaccination is available for the 2 to 12-year-old age group from this morning. Parents are being encouraged to vaccinate their children to protect them from the risk of more serious illnesses. It's administered as simple as a nasal spray and is available in pharmacies and GPs. Now having a look to weather, cloudy with rain developing this morning, turning heavy at times too. The rain will move off north later this afternoon, followed by scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees and an easterly breeze. That's all for now. The next news update will be at 10 o'clock. In the meantime, keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. From myself and the news team, good morning.
Since time immemorial, people all over Ireland have been settling for less at lunchtime. And every day, thousands of you make do with disappointing dishes and sad sandwiches. Well, that ends now. Introducing the Zinger Chicken Fillet More from KFC. More crunch from a crispy golden hash brown, more spice from a delicious zinger fillet, and more sauce from burger dressing and supercharger mayo, all packed into a tasty baguette.
If you're looking to renew your car insurance, we have some of the best.
Hang on a second. There's more to this ad. I forgot to mention the cheese. That's the limited edition Zinger Chicken Fillet More, a delicious baguette with a Zinger Fillet, hash brown, cheese, burger dressing, and supercharger mayo, exclusively at KFC. And lettuce. It also has lettuce. Available till November 12th at participating restaurants only.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 Til Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 Til Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. Just approaching 6 minutes past 9 this Monday, the 23rd of October, 2023. You're very welcome along to another week of the 9 Til Noon Show. I hope you had a lovely weekend, as best as you could have. And you're with us now to keep us company for the next 3 hours in this show and throughout the day here on your #1 local radio station, Highland Radio. The lines are open for you right now. Anything caught your eye, your imagination, or concerned you over the weekend, share it with the rest of the Northwest on 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. Take your phone out if you've never texted a radio show before, and let today be the first day that you get to share your opinion, as I say, with the Northwest region. You can give us a call too on 07491 25,000. Caroline taking your calls, and emails to comments@highlandradio.com. I'll remind you of other ways you can engage and contact us a little later on. But first to the papers, starting with the Derry People Donegal News. Two popular and well-established Donegal businesses have been forced to close their doors because of biting running costs. Owners of McCarry's Bar made the hard decision to close their doors at the weekend after struggling to keep up with rising costs. The bar, which is situated between Creesla and Dunfanaghy, has been run by Ryan Moore and his partner Ciara Cannon since 2019. Once bustling with local trade and tourists in recent times, the pair have found it near impossible to keep the bar open. Pulling their final pint last night, Ciara said there have been a lot of factors behind the closure. On to the Derry News this morning. Up to 5 major Ebrington events next year. Derry City and Strabane District Council will assume a programming role for the future events in Ebrington Square. This new arrangement will apply to 5 major events in 2024, the number currently permitted on the site under existing legal constraints. Let's go to the nationals now. We'll start with health. And the Independent tells us that HSE Chief Bernard Gloucester has been warned his decision to extend a hiring freeze means health workers may not be able to deliver safe services this winter. In a letter requesting an urgent meeting, the main health union representing more than 100,000 staff say a recruitment embargo that has been expanded to include junior doctors, agency staff and home help will have a severe impact at a time of increasing demand. They warn the hiring ban could be detrimental to his plans to improve services by extending the working day. The union's warning to the CEO comes as clerical, administrative and managerial members of Forza are set to ramp up work to rule already underway in protest at the recruitment freeze from Friday, of course. And we know an awful lot of what the unions are warning could happen is happening at our local facility, Letterkenny University Hospital, according to people that work there and speak to us. And we'll be talking about that further in the second hour of the show. The head of Cialta is back on the programme to answer more questions. We have a bit more time to put those questions to him as well. The Irish Times this morning has quotes from Eamon Ryan. He is the Green Party leader, of course, and he says widespread trolling being carried out on social media, along with the I can't say the word. Sometimes I get dissemination of fake news. I got there. Conspiracy theories and disinformation now pose a threat to Irish democracy. Party leader Eamon Ryan and Deputy Leader Catherine Martin both devoted key passages of their respective speeches to the party's national convention in Cork at the weekend to harsh criticism of the effects of social media platforms where trolls were bombarding people with false information and prejudicial opinions. Mr. Ryan said this was particularly so in relation to messages on climate change. Mr. Martin, the Minister for Media told delegates her department was working as a national counter-disinformation strategy. The digital revolution has a darker side, Mr. Ryan told delegates during the keynote speech. There you go, okay. I think everyone has to make sure, though, if that's the case, that everything everyone puts up on social media is actually accurate and true, because if you have someone who polices what is information and disinformation, well, the same rules have to apply to absolutely everybody, don't they? The Independent, President Michael D. Higgins is under increased pressure this weekend over his intervention in political matters internationally and domestically. The President was subjected to a ticking off by the Israeli ambassador to Ireland, Dana Elrich, over the inflammatory effects of his remarks on the Middle East conflict. Ms. Ehrlich claimed the president has made misinformed comments that have had an inflammatory effect on the Israeli-Hamas war. So there you go. The president now also being accused of putting out false information effectively. The ambassador said when it came to claims that Mr. Higgins had spread misinformation for her, it has been a case of ifs. Sorry, I beg your pardon. What does that say? Yes, and that is the president, and I obviously can't criticise. Meanwhile, Independent TD Michael Fitzmaurice accused the president of barefaced hypocrisy for saying more should be done to protect people from flooding. But what has the president said that is so controversial? It seems that stating that Israel has a right to defend itself, as every country does, but don't bomb civilians. Hamas are on the ground. You know, the civilians are on top of the ground. To say that one should be cautious in that military approach, is that now cause to be cancelled? It seems to be. The Irish Daily Star this morning, there is significant problems with morale within the Gardaí as a rising number of members are leaving the force over bullying, unfair treatment and work-related stress issues. The Garda Representative Association has published a report to establish why officers are leaving the job. In 2022, 107 members resigned, while so far this year that figure stands at 106, which is over double than in the year 2017 when it stood at 47. The GRA interviewed 40 police, who had left last year, and each participant cited low morale while working in the force. It found 70% felt they were unfairly treated and bullied by management. Over 30% had work-related stress and burnout, and over 32% said the workload was too much and they did not have enough resources. On to the Irish Daily Mirror. Were you watching the lotto draw? I didn't really know, to be honest with you, that it was still done on TV, but apparently it didn't go to plan at the weekend. The National Lottery needs a complete overhaul, a TD has said, after Saturday's jackpot draw had to be abandoned due to technical issues. Fine Gael Deputy Bernard Durkin believes bosses need to give a full explanation into what went wrong, which resulted in the draw being done off-air. In a statement, the National Lottery, which is operated by Premier Lotteries Ireland, claimed the broadcast had to be halted due to a technical problem. It was abandoned while on air and replaced with a post saying the draw would be completed as soon as is possible. But as I say, Deputy Durkin believes there needs to be a full investigation into the workings of the lottery now. And have you got €825,000 burning a hole in your pocket? Well, if you do, you could buy a shovel used by the US astronauts on the moon. Well, actually, you couldn't, because it's already been sold for €825,000. The Moon Rock Scoop helped collect 211 pounds of lunar samples during the Apollo 16 mission in 1972. This included the 26-pound Big Mooley, the largest rock collected during the Apollo missions. Some people just have money to burn, literally. Well, it's not literally, because that would be burning the money. But to be able to spend €825,000 on a wee shovel that may or may not, some believe it may, some would believe it may never went to the moon. But anyway, whoever bought it clearly believed they did. Good morning to you, Dolores, Linda and Kate. You're amongst those watching the show. Don't forget you can watch all of today's programme, as you can every day, on our website. It includes subtitles for those who may be hard of hearing but also want to keep up to date with what's happening in their region. On YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, you can watch on your smart TV, your Fire Stick and across your devices. Or you can watch on Facebook as well, Highland Hub or Highland Radio News and Sport. Right, okay. That's pretty much all the detail as to how you stay in touch with us. But we'll move on to our first topic of this morning. And over the weekend, Paddy Cosgrave announced his resignation as CEO of Web Summit. I beg your pardon. Paddy Cosgrave lives in Donegal, by the way, just in case you're not aware. In a statement, Mr. Cosgrave said, "I'm resigning as CEO of Web Summit with immediate effect. Unfortunately, my personal comments have become a distraction from the event and our team, our sponsors, our startups and the people who attend." It follows some controversial posts he made in the wake of the attack in Israel and the subsequent Israeli response. We're joined on the programme now by Professor Kevin Curran, Professor of Cybersecurity at Ulster University. Good morning to you, Professor. Thanks for your time. How are you keeping?
Good. Yeah, good morning, Greg.
It's good to have you with us. Right, the Web Summit, how significant is it? It was originally based in Ireland, and I think Mr. Cosgrave believed he wasn't getting the support he deserved and then moved it to Lisbon. Is it a big deal?
It is, yeah. They're expecting 70,000 people to attend. And of course, most of the major technology companies were present at this again. I mean, it lags behind one I attended for 8 years in a row on Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, which has about 120,000 attendees. But Web Summit is still one of the largest technology conferences in Europe.
And this was established by Paddy, wasn't it? Paddy
was a co-founder, really, and he's been the main guy behind it all. And I've been there. It's been a few years since I was there, but I did compare one of the events again where I interviewed or had to compare and actually interview Eric Mijakowski, and he was the guy behind Pebble, which was the original smartphone, the one that had the most commercial success. And I remember that about 3,000 people in the auditorium, and it was really well executed, the whole event and the pavilion and everything else. And it was down in Ballsbridge, actually, is where it was. But it was a superb conference. I've been to a lot of them, and it was just as good as any I've ever attended.
Do you think him resigning as CEO, though, will be enough to save the brand? I suppose whatever, they might try and get it over the line and have some measure of success in Lisbon, but then it's in Qatar then as well, which in and of itself is really quite controversial the following year.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens, really. I mean, because the major brands like Intel, who hire so many people in Ireland, again, Microsoft, Google, we can go right down the list, they've all pulled out. And again, whether they come back again. But sometimes in a case like this, it wasn't as if the Web Summit executive came together and issued a statement. This was one individual. So the fact that he's resigned may be enough to allay some of the actual disappointment in people, because he was naive here. He misunderstood his audience, really, that so much of Silicon Valley is owned and created by Jewish people. Again, Steve Ballmer, the co-founder of Microsoft, is Jewish. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook is Jewish. Larry Ellison of Oracle is Jewish. There are so many Israelis working for these companies as well. He really misunderstood exactly who the people are that he's dealing with, really, in his life, because he does have a history of making political statements, really. But in this one, it's come back to bite him.
Yeah, and I suppose in the first instance he said he wouldn't relent. Some of what he said, well, firstly, in almost the immediate aftermath of the Hamas attack in Israel, he published a graphic which showed the amount of people that have died at the hands of Israel versus at the hands of Hamas in Israel. And that was almost immediately after this attack. And he tweeted things along the lines of, "I'm shocked at the rhetoric and actions of so many Western leaders and governments, with the exception in particular of Ireland's government, who for once are doing the right thing. War crimes are war crimes, even when committed by allies, and should be called out for what they are." And what's happened is a lot of people that perhaps wouldn't be fans of his, Kevin, are sort of finding themselves sympathising with him in that they might agree with the thrust of his points, but perhaps don't agree with everything else that's come out of his mouth on social media particularly.
Well, of course, yeah. There's a lot of pro-Palestinian people in Ireland, both north and south. Of course there is. Ireland's always had a bit of a history in that respect. So there will be people who agree with him and would agree with many other extreme views as well. Of course there will be. But again, in this case, you just got to be careful of what you post on Twitter. I mean, really, you just don't try to be too smart. It can come back. I mean, unless it's a computer science story or something on post, anything on Twitter, I will like them maybe and reshare. I don't touch anything political on Twitter because it's not my job. I'm not a political commentator. I'm a tech guy. And whatever my belief is strongly on anything, there's going to be some people who are upset, and it's not my place again. If I want to change someone's opinion, I change it in person in my discussions. Nothing I will say will change anyone's mind when it comes to anything outside technology. Again, so the only people I can change is obviously my family, my friends maybe, and give my opinion. And of course, I'll debate anyone, but I don't have to try and go online and give my opinion about something which is not in my area.
But that's one of the greatest problems on Twitter / X is that everyone has an opinion and wants to express it, even when it's probably just informed by something they read 30 seconds ago.
Of course there is, yeah. But my advice there is just for younger people, again, just be careful. Just be careful when it comes to, do you have to get involved in that if you're in tech or whatever else? Like I said, just be careful about what you share, whatever, because it can come back to bite you very much again. It's just like, again, don't go on social media when you've had a few drinks.
This is all very solid advice for a Monday morning from Professor Kevin Corrin. Thank you. What does it actually mean when, this is more of a business than a tech question, but as he steps away from CEO, he retains his interests, presumably in the company and some level of influence. Would he, Kevin, do we know?
We don't know yet. I mean, the board might meet and he could be fired again. There's obviously contracts. There's clauses in any contract you have whenever you're on anything like this again. Yeah, and if you go outside of the, whatever the rules are within the contract and bring it into disrepute is what he has done. There is clear grounds for getting him fired from it as well.
You would have been, just more generally, one of the first adapters, of course, to social media. What do you make of it now? What is it? How influential is it? How divisive? How destructive is it?
It's hugely, we just take Twitter. I mean, really, that's the one really. It's hugely influential, right? Because so many people subscribe again and you have a kind of an elite on there. But it's also really, it's really dark as well and really frustrating. I can only take it for a little while in pieces again, and then I go off. And of course, I do have my people I follow there with extreme views. I try to see what the middle ground is and what the truth is on both sides. But it actually really is annoying. There's days I just don't go near it because I just get so annoyed by and so much hate on there. But again, there's always going to be some. I'm not blaming Twitter as such, or X even. There's always going to be some watering hole like that, which is for those political debates and whatever else we want on there. Again, and we're seeing how Threads has literally died again. Threads couldn't compete with Twitter. Tried to be just, no one's on there really.
But he didn't really seem to, and that of course is from Meta. There was this sort of rapid launch, unless it's went over my head, but I'm pretty active online. Mark Zuckerberg didn't seem to push it beyond the launch.
Yeah, no, that's correct. But again, it's shown us again, they made it as easy as you could to bootstrap a social network by just within 2 minutes, you've signed up, your profile picture's there and it's copied across from Instagram. But yet what happened? And it had all the features that X has. And yet what happened is really people didn't really go across to it. The people who, influence in the modern world. So again, it just shows you how difficult it is to break the incumbents in social media.
All right, okay. Listen, thanks very much as always, Kevin. Have a lovely day. Take care of yourself. Professor Kevin Corrin there reacting to the news that he lives just outside Rossnell. And now Paddy Cosgraves announced his resignation as CEO of Web Summit. And it just goes to show that, he's a controversial character himself. He's calls out the government, has called out companies and how this country is run. And been quite successful in that, I suppose you could say. But then you take on a different issue, and all of a sudden, that's it. You're no longer the CEO of the company you founded, and it's going to be a difficult way back in that regard. Okay, back with more after we take a break.
Make your Christmas party unforgettable at Sister Sarah's this December. Book now for the best Christmas party in town. See Facebook for menu and dates. Sister Sarah's are proud sponsors of today's show.
Tinny's Toys, Ireland's largest farm toy superstore, isn't just about farm toys. We've loads of fun outdoor toys for kids, such as electric scooters, crazy carts, electric quads, jeeps, tractors, and so much more. Hassle-free parking at the door with no traffic jams. Our Christmas club is now open too, and a wee deposit secures your item. Tinny's Toys, Leck Road, Letterkenny, or online at tinnystoys.com. Lay down.
Crawford Tiles and more Castlefin. Now stocking Chronospan high quality laminate flooring. AC4 rated with a 20-year guarantee. 8mm $9.99 to $10.99 a square yard. 10mm $12.50 a square yard. 12mm $14.99 a square yard. High gloss $16.99 a square yard. In stock and ready to go. That's Crawford Tiles Castlefin. 914392.
At AXA, we know running a home can run up your costs too. That's why you can save up to 30% on our home insurance. Get a quote today. Together, we've got this. AXA. Know you can. Policy terms and conditions apply. Minimum premium is €160. A 30% discount is available after 3 consecutive years claims free, 15% after 2 consecutive years, and 10% after 1 year claims free. AXA Insurance DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
New season of fabrics have arrived in store at Fabric World Maydown. On trend and in stock, we have all the fabrics you need. Thousands of curtains, upholstery and craft fabrics at incredible stock prices. Call in for your free curtain design and quotation at Fabric World Derry. Great Euro rates for all our Euro customers.
This Halloween half-term, there are ghastly goings-on across Northern Ireland with the National Trust. Enjoy an enchanting Hallows Eve at Castle Ward. Sink your fangs into the new food fair at Florence Court's Harvest Festival of Colour. Tiptoe into the world of spooky trails and storytelling at Mount Stewart. And brave Finn's Frightful Fun Fest at the Giant's Causeway. With broomstick races at Spring Hill and a monster market at Llewellyn Garden. Search National Trust NI.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It is 9:27. Now, we were speaking about the fallout of comments made by Paddy Cosgrave on social media, and I suppose we're going to stay in that kind of in that realm, the social media world. Dr. Vicky O'Rourke, Senior Lecturer in Research Development at the Faculty of Business, ATU Donegal, is with us. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thanks for your time.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
We're speaking about an event being hosted by ATU Donegal tomorrow. It's the Minding Media event. And its aim is to empower children to use the internet in a critical way. So explain that a little bit more to us.
That's right. So in terms of being able to be critical consumers of media messages that children consume, I think what we've noticed over the last decade, but in particularly since the pandemic, that children are expert users of digital media, perhaps more expert than some of the adults around them. And there's an assumption that because they're experts in the use of digital media, that they're also able to critically evaluate message content. That's not always the case. So the purpose of the Minding Media resources are to enable children to be able to stop, think, check before they believe any messages they see. So in terms of the Minding Media resources, we focused on 4 different aspects of media literacy as such. We focused on media itself, on being able to recognize media, on advertising, being able to recognize a paid for, a commercial message, been able to recognize fake news and been able to bring all of those together and use social media safely.
Yeah, and how do you do that when the majority of young people, it seems, and maybe this applies to adults as well, there's not necessarily a randomness to how they use the internet. They have celebrities in their minds that they follow, and what comes out of their mouths is gospel. Anyone with children, perhaps at some point they've come up and said something that, you know, KSI has said or whatever it might be, you know, and that influence on them is far greater, I think, than any influence on previous generations, be it online or offline. So how do you sort of get past that trust and relationship they have with the person they're getting the information on and get them to think critically about it?
That's very possible, because it's all right to like a message. It's okay to like an ad. You can choose then to believe the ad or not. So, for example, a lot of the messages that children receive over YouTube, they're paid for, they're commercial content. There's lots of different techniques that are used. For example, maybe sometimes there are appeals to fear, for example, fear of missing out. There are appeals to emotions, for example, a cute cat or some funny music or a TikTok meme. And there are then the logical appeals, the factual appeals. So what these resources do is they teach children that there are different types of messages and that it's all right to like the message, but that doesn't mean you have to believe the message. What you need to do is you need to stop and think and check the facts and make up your own mind if you believe the message. And some of the resources send these messages out. We use YouTube videos. We have interactive quizzes. We have Minding Media Minecraft education worlds that are dedicated to carrying out challenges and tasks to solve media literacy related issues. And we also have some classroom-based activities. And some of those are, for example, design a campaign for an influencer of your choice. So we're getting them to put together and to use the tools that they have learned about during these Minding Media resources and to be able to apply them and use them and make recommendations for influencers that they're so familiar with. So the idea is that we're trying to bridge the gap between what happens within the classroom and outside the classroom by giving children the techniques themselves that social media influencers use and allowing children to enjoy using them themselves.
And as I'm listening to you, I know this is focused on children, it's so important, but we need these classes for adults. We need these classes for adults as well, because we believe sometimes that we're thinking independently, but then you look at where you're drawing the information from, and it's from, a cohort of people who all think the same. That's not independent thinking. That's just echoing what other people are saying to you. But anyway, and I presume, and we'll get to we'll talk a bit more, and I know you touched on it there as to how the the approach here, but if we promote critical thinking in a space where people spend a lot of time, i.e. Online, social media and what have you, hopefully that then extends into the real world, so to speak, don't we? Because we need critical thinking people in the real world too.
Absolutely. Critical thinking has a place in everything we do, and the implications of being able to assess media messages have impacts for health, politics, economics, education, every aspect of our lives. So it's very, very important. These skills are not just skills we use to consume media, they're skills we use throughout life. However, I think because of the amplification of messages on social media, it's become critical that we remember to use these tools when we're enjoying social media.
Mm-hmm. You one of your specialties is marketing ethics. Do you believe there is enough oversight in terms of rules, what's allowed, how it's allowed? You know what I mean? That's the first firewall there, isn't it? What are you allowed to do legally on social media? How are you allowed to present something you're endorsing or selling? There have been some moves in relation to that, like hashtags and stuff. But do you think we're doing enough to regulate online marketing and what have you, particularly, I suppose, that's targeted towards children?
There are lots of activities being carried out at the moment, and Be Media Smart is a national campaign that's happening this week, and it's an initiative of Media Literacy Ireland, which is an informal alliance of organisations and individuals who are working together on a voluntary basis to promote media literacy in Ireland. And this organisation is facilitated by the Commission Le Mans, the newly established media regulator. Members of Media Literacy Ireland include, and Be Media Smart include, actors in the media, academics, industry representatives. So that's one activity that's happening. There are a multitude of small-scale initiatives, educational interventions, training workshops for adults, etc. happening. And I know there are some happening across Ireland over the next 2 months as part of the Be Media Smart campaign. And if you go on to bemediasmart.ie, you'll be able to find out more about those. In terms then of the global scale, we of course have some rules and regulations in Europe, but media and social media is global. So it's very difficult to enforce rules, regulations all of the time. What we need a multi-pronged approach. We need education, we need regulation, we need all actors, and we need all of those things to work together so that we can all be informed and enjoy media, but enjoy it in a critical and a responsible manner.
Okay, so this event is tomorrow. It's from 9:45 a.m. And who's invited? I mean, are there spaces left, by the way? Sorry, Vicky.
There are a small number of spaces left, and you mentioned something earlier on that I just wanted to come back to, and that is that, yes, the Minding Media resources are for primary school children aged 8 to 12, and they're for teachers and parents of primary school children aged 8 to 12. But the talks tomorrow are actually for everybody, because some of the talks we're delivering are around what is advertising literacy? Why does it matter? So what is stealth marketing? How can you recognize it? Why is that important to recognize? Another one of the talks we have is by a consultant in the region, and she is going to talk about social media, and she's going to talk about the tips and tricks and tactics that social media use to keep us engaged. So why we spend forever scrolling on TikTok. So Emma Boylan from Out of the Box is going to talk about that. Dr. Owen Fury from the Faculty of Computing at ATU Donegal is going to talk as well about recommender systems and algorithms, which sounds very technical, I know, but actually we see them every day because we scroll through Google or Bing or any of those search engines that we use. And that very much influences then what we think, the types of information we consume. So the talks tomorrow are to create awareness of all of these aspects of engaging online that we should be more familiar with. And they're equally relevant for adults as they are for parents and teachers of children. There are a small number of spaces available. We have limited capacity. There are a small number of spaces available. And if you log on to the news section of the ATU website, you'll see a piece about Minding Media, and at the bottom of it there's an application form where you can register your interest to attend tomorrow. And if you have any issues or any concerns, or if you'd like to access the resources and you're not able to be there tomorrow, if you'd like to learn more information before you would like to go tomorrow, you can always email me, vicky.o'rourke@atu.ie. And
those resources that you talk of too available at mindingmedia.eu as well.
That's right. And what they are is they're a set of resources. So designed for children aged 8 to 12, we have training videos. So we've got short YouTube videos around media, advertising, fake news and social media. And then after each video, there's an interactive online quiz. And there are resources developed for children aged 8 to 10 and resources developed for children aged 10 to 12. So they're designed to align with the primary school curriculum and that 2-year cycle. They're designed to align with the wellbeing learning outcomes in primary curriculum. So that's one of the resources that is there. Another resource then is that there are 4 Minecraft education worlds, and they can be used within or outside of the classroom. And there's 4 sub-worlds around media, advertising, fake news and social media, and you can complete media-related challenges and quests. So, for example, you've got to advise a person who wants to sell donuts on the kinds of messages they must put together in an advertisement. You've got to help somebody spot pieces of fake news in a bus station, etc. And then last but not least, we've got step-by-step lesson plans for teachers who teach children ages 8 to 10 and who teach children ages 10 to 12. And we've got supporting lesson plan slides so that they can use them with ease in the classroom. Essentially, the lesson plans are designed to be step-by-step, ready to go for teachers to facilitate their use in the classroom.
Okay, brilliant stuff. And just remind us once again, if people want to express an interest in attending tomorrow, what's the contact there?
vicky.o'rourke@atu.ie.
All right, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it, Vicky. That's Dr. Vicky O'Rourke, Senior Lecturer in Research Development at the Faculty of Business, ATU Donegal.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Get ready for the most wonderful time of the year at Sister Sarah's Letterkenny. Secure your preferred party night now with fantastic food and a festive atmosphere throughout December. Sister Sarah's, proud sponsors of today's show.
An chlór Employer Excellence de chuid Fáilte Ireland Oscailtanis de gachsáis cólachta in Arnold na Tuarasóireachta ón siamsa is lú go dtí an tóstán is mó. Glagpórt leis na céite cólacht eile atá meala daoine ort chumasach a chana féin. An córtha a chuid díonna daoine a arcú. Chlór ag fáilteireland.ie/Employer Excellence.
It's the home of the vegan butchers, the artisan bakers, the freestyle lyricists, and the trouser suit striders. It's the urban jungle, where the everyday meets the latest wave. And you could see it all from your Seat SUV. From the sharp lines and smart style of the Arona to the bold and beautiful Ateca. And if size is your thing, the Tarraco comes as a 7-seater. See what's in store at seat.ie for our latest offers. And visit DMG Motors, Claw Road, Donegal Town. Because your new Seat is just waiting to see what's next.
Wheezing or sneezing? When you're feeling under the weather, your local Brennan's pharmacy can help. Rest, fluids and simple pain relief are the most effective remedies for a common cold. But if you find that you're coughing so hard that your chest hurts, or if it's disrupting your sleep, just ask our pharmacist to recommend the best solution for a speedy recovery. For all your pharmacy needs and advice you can trust, we're here for you at Brennan's Pharmacy, Buncrana, Dunmanny and Creeslaw.
With a high digital online skills course, you'll feel a real difference.
I can listen to all the music I like. The bus app that's coming out, it's brilliant.
Anything you want to know, it's at their fingertips.
They're small things, but they mean something.
Learn essential online skills with simple, accessible lessons at highdigital.ie or free phone 1800 20 30 30. Brought to you by Vodafone Ireland Foundation and Alone. Vodafone. Together we can.
Do you want the very best for your pet? At Gary's Pet World Letterkenny, we offer fantastic value on all your pet foods, accessories, grooming and pet care products. We cater for cats, dogs, rabbits, birds and fish and open 7 days per week at Letterkenny Retail Park. Or you can browse and buy 24/7 at petworld.ie and we will deliver to your home. Treat your pet with a visit to Gary's Pet World. It's what they deserve.
At Sister Sarah's Gastropub Letterkenny, let us look after your Christmas party needs this December with excellent food and entertainment in Letterkenny's premier venue, 9122238. Sister Sarah's, proud sponsors of today's show.
Go full Lidl this Halloween and fill your trolley without a nightmare price. Get all the treats without the tricks. Monkey nuts, 2 packs for €4. Carve costs on Irish pumpkins, prices from 99¢. And get 2 for €3 on scary jelly mix. Deadly. Go on, have a Halloween without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
At On Post, we believe in giving you more power over how you bank. That's why AIB and Bank of Ireland customers can now lodge and withdraw money at any of our 900 post offices across Ireland 6 days a week. That's right, your bank is in your post office for personal and business banking alike, meaning you can bank wherever you live or work. Visit your local post office or onpost.com/everydaybanking. On Post, your money for your world. Allied Irish Banks plc and Bank of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Step into our showrooms at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet this month and you'll be transported into a realm of endless possibilities. Imagine lounging on a luxurious leather sofa, hosting friends at a stunning dining table, or sinking into a cloud-like mattress and bed at the end of a long day. Reserve now to ensure delivery for Christmas. Also shop online at foys.ie. Finance is available. Inquire in store at Foy & Company, Letterkenny and Ballybuffet.
Leadership is about driving change. That's why we're pleased to introduce the first ever all-electric BMW i5. Seamlessly blending unmistakable BMW driving dynamics with instant electric performance and impressive range. While innovative technology connects to elevate every journey. Discover the joy of moving forward. Reserve your test drive at bmw.ie. Test drive subject to status and availability.
Hi, Kate Appleby here. Just wanted to let you all know my exciting new autumn shoe collection is available nationwide in all good shoe stores. kateappleby.com. Hope you enjoy my shoes.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport, where you can now fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect via Heathrow to over 80 destinations worldwide, including Boston, New York and more.
Well, thankfully, we're going to escape the worst of the wet weather, it seems, but it will be cloudy with rain developing this morning, turning heavy at times. The rain will move off to the north later this afternoon, followed by scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees in an easterly breeze. Staying rather cloudy with showers, but they will become more isolated later in the night. Lowest temperatures 6 to 8 degrees with light breezes. Okay. Hello, Greg. Big shout out to Niamh Connell, who won the Donegal Senior Championship yesterday. 2 in a row from all their supporters, indeed, and we'll be speaking about that victory and the rest of the weekend's action with Brendan Devaney just after 11 o'clock as we preview the DL debate. It was, I enjoyed the game. It seemed very one-sided. I'm not sure. Niamh Connell obviously are fantastic. Guidor, will they be kicking themselves in how they performed? I don't know. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Give us your views on yesterday's Donegal Senior Football Championship final. Congratulations, of course, to Niamh Connell. They seem an incredibly well-organised outfit. As it relates to President Michael D. Higgins' comments, actually Paddy Cosgrave's comments, Raymond says Paddy Cosgrave did the right thing, speaking out for the Palestinian right to life under Israeli bombardment. Paddy was a victim of Israeli Semitism at its worst, where one cannot speak the truth to Israel. But as I say, it wasn't just that commentary in of itself. Of course, Web Summit is going to Qatar next year. Qatar are said to be supporters of Hamas, so that doesn't look good. Paddy Cosgrave unapologetically has heavily funded The Ditch, which, of course, most of you might know is an online publication that's exposed quite a bit of controversy in Irish politics, but at the same time too they've taken a very pro-Palestinian position. Okay, and then there's other things, and it's the timing and it's the graphs. So I get what you're saying, but it's not just one tweet in and of itself. There's much more to it than that, and I think that's really what was his downfall. Caller says we need a proper fair deal scheme for home care, similar to what they have in nursing homes, which is tailored to the individual as opposed to a blanket scheme. The home help scheme is not enough. Okay. Right, we are speaking now to Andrew Webb, Chief Economist at Grant Thornton. Good morning to you, Andrew. Thank you for your time today.
Good morning.
Right, now, a series of 2 public meetings are taking place in Donegal tomorrow. One in Killybegs from 11am to 1pm, and then Letterkenny from 2pm to 6pm. Now, you're seeking the views of the public and anyone with an interest, I'm sure, in the sustainable development of your local coastal area. So who is actually seeking this information? Who are these meetings being held on behalf of?
Well, good morning, and thanks for having me on, because we're keen, as you say, to get views from anyone who's interested. These meetings relate to the Bord Ishkawara and then the Fisheries Local Advisory Group new strategy. There's European money that comes down through the Fisheries and Maritime Funds, and part of it is the Fisheries Local Action Group element. And really our job in Grant Thornton is to support the flag, as they're known, the flag board in the area, to really learn what the challenges of the area are, what the needs are, and then ask for views on what could potentially change that. So we're having a meeting, as you say, in Tara Hotel in Killybegs tomorrow, and Mount Errigal Hotel in Letterkenny. And really, as many people as possible, we'd want to see and come along and tell us just what they think the needs of the area are, the coastal area, I should say. Specifically around, are there any actions that might help grow the economy and diversify the sector reliance on fisheries and coastal economy, maybe more tourism type initiatives, festivals. Those have been quite successful in the past. But as I say, we want to hear as many and all ideas as possible, and then it will be on us in Grant Thornton to sift through those and see which can be potentially funded over time.
Yeah, and some people instantly, when they would have heard me introduce this, would have thought, well, you know, what about the maintaining and supporting the fishing industry? But just in your commentary there, you said that, you know, about diversification. So is sort of, if people have comments about the fishing industry, it's how it's supported, how it's run. Are they welcome too, or is this focus sort of... Go ahead, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely welcome. I mean, I think the way that the various themes for action are articulated, it does talk about actions to diversify the income of fishers and coastal community economy. I would take a view that that's about adding to what's there and supporting and protecting what's there, and hopefully increasing the economy as a whole. So that would include fisheries, as I said, tourism as well, and any other potential opportunities for growth in coastal areas. We see since the pandemic, during the pandemic, and with a good connection to broadband, we can work much more remotely, and that's much more accepted. So are there other elements that could happen along the coastal areas that could maybe grow and support economic activity?
Mm-hmm. And tourism is an interesting one too, because there are some areas that tourism has replaced other industries, and in local communities they're not terribly happy with that sometimes, in that it can be very, very busy for a couple of months and then incredibly quiet and nothing there to sustain a population over 12 months. Those views would be really quite interesting to hear as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, we need to hear all these issues. So we will be having a context piece, if you like, which is really what are the strengths, what are the challenges, and then how do we take those and turn those into actions? Even just thinking about tourism, you're right, real strong period of the year, but how do we maybe think about growing more? And just, I suppose, in the context of Halloween coming up, for example, are there festivals and activities that could be built up around that to extend the season and attract more people in? Are there different ways to attract people over a longer period of the year and then give more income spread more generally across the more than just summer season?
And what is the pathway for the information gathered from events like this being put into action when that decision is made? Like, who administers it? How would the people feel their contribution impacting them down the line?
So that we in Grant Thornton are supporting the flag board and then Board Ishkawara. The flag board over the probably early into the new year and beyond will have funding available, and then they will receive applications. So under the various elements that we want to see around that diversification of income, innovations towards growth and niche tourism, etc., there would be projects that could be applied for, can apply for funding, and then it will be on the flag board through the approval processes to see if those can be funded. Yeah. Our job really is to, I suppose, just gather in, sift, turn it into a strategy, and I suppose just meet the requirements of the European Union, which is we're all quite used to.
Yeah, no, but it's quite interesting and more important, I think, then for people to get involved. Now, whilst there are in Killybegs and Letterkenny, it's for the entire coastal community, of course, of the region. But if you feel there are great strengths in the areas, but there are gaps, if those gaps are highlighted and then an application is put in that maybe fills those gaps to some point down the line. This is a very simplistic way of looking at it, though. That's how you could get your needs serviced to some extent. So it's really important as many people as possible have their input now.
It is, absolutely. This programme will run over a number of years, and there will be I suppose regular calls for applications over a period of 4 or 5 years. So it's really important that we frame it correctly now, and it's without getting too technical, it's a concept called community-led local development that really is it relies on the local communities telling right up through what are the issues and how do we go about solving those.
All right, okay. So these events, 2 public meetings being held tomorrow, if you're free in the morning, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's in the Tara Hotel in Killybegs, and in Letterkenny between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. in the Mount Errigal Hotel as well. I'm sure they'll be well signposted once you enter reception there. Andrew Webb, Chief Economist at Grant Thornton, thanks for your time this morning. I hope you have a good attendance.
Thank you very much.
Right, take care of yourself. All right, so who's to say that your needs could be met if you let people know what they are. Great to hear recently President Higgins and Pope Francis singing from the same hymn sheet during a meeting at the Vatican Library. Looks like the age-old controversy of women priests and same-sex marriage in the Catholic Church will be approved at next year's Synod. Roll on Vatican III. Met Éireann haven't given a red weather warning since some people in Donegal claimed from them for loss of business for the last one that didn't materialise, did they? I wasn't aware of any successful claims in that regard. Another caller says, I'm a smaller retailer in Letterkenny and I'm getting so annoyed on a Friday morning, and it's the same every Friday morning. I have so many people who call into the shop to buy bin labels and bin labels only. There is no profit in this sale for me. Really, it's the service I'm providing. Could people think about the small retailer and buy at least one thing extra to keep me staying open and provide the service for you? Wow, okay, I wasn't aware of that. I would have thought, considering that you are providing that service, there'd be a little incentive for you to be part of that. Didn't know it. Okay, so if you're in buying your a bin tag on a Friday, grab a coffee or something as well, or whatever it might be able to, whatever might be available there. Greg, can the council please replace the light at the main Inch Road junction beside Fawn Health Centre? This is a very busy junction with cars, walkers and a bus stop located there, and for staff and the public using the health centre, it's very dangerous in these dark evenings. Thank you, says that listener. Morning, I'm wondering, can you mention this? I've been to Vodafone about 3 weeks ago to buy 2 charging cables for my phone and they don't accept cash. Told me they never got their till back since COVID. So this week I was in Donegal town and I went into the Vodafone shop there for the same items, but as the lady was walking away to get the products, she remarked, we only take card payments. So I told her, no, I was paying by cash. They wanted you to buy safe chargers for your phone but won't accept cash. Can you highlight this, please, at some stage today, as I have to now go to a tech shop to buy my charging cables, which were almost €20 each. Thanks so much. Okay, well, you see, the problem is that that is a Vodafone policy. They got rid of cash or cash sales, and it was in and around the time of COVID, but they haven't reversed that decision. And as long as they advertise it in advance, that's a business decision that they're allowed to make. Mind you, this is as it relates to Garda morale and why they are leaving the force. The guards can bully themselves, easy victims, and won't deal with major issues, says a listener there. That's just their experience, of course. I know the professor inferred that being pro-Palestine is an extreme view. I didn't pick up on that. I also note that he went into some detail as to Israeli influences in tech and social media before advising people not to comment on political issues online. He suggested that sharing opinions on social media doesn't change people's opinions. As a tech security expert, I'm surprised he holds that view given the influence of Cambridge Analytica. The company was banned due to its influence via social media, so to unethically affect elections. Humanity is in everyone's interest. Speaking out against Israel's war crimes and genocidal actions against Palestinian civilians is the right of every person on the planet. Right, okay, I'll take that. And I think most people certainly here might agree, but obviously there are those with influence that don't, and they've cost Paddy Cosgrave his job and potentially the future of the Web Summit. That remains to be seen. Right, keep your calls and comments coming in to us, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We'll be back with more after the news and obituary notices.
'Tis almost the season to indulge. Secure your staff party or get-together at Sister Sarah's Letterkenny. Christmas party nights now available to book on 912238. Sister Sarah's, our proud sponsors of today's show.
Exciting news! Kia at iMotors are thrilled to introduce our stellar offers for 2024. Enjoy peace of mind with a complimentary service for the first 2 years, plus an additional 1 year if you're a Kia customer already. 1.9% finance on EV cars, 3.9% PCP, providing flexible and affordable payment options, and receive a €500 super value voucher when you purchase a Kia. These offers are designed with you in mind. Don't miss out. Visit iMotors today in Letterkenny and Malin.
There's only one thing as good as a TUI holiday, and that's looking forward to one. So get next summer sorted and secure your TUI holiday today. Choose beach, lakes and cruise breaks across a wide range of destinations, including Mexico direct from Dublin. Plus all your favourites like holiday villages, Splash World resorts and our own TUI Blue hotels. Secure now with thousands of free child places and a low booking deposit of €25 per person. That's next summer's holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy. T's and C's apply.
We all want to live in a more sustainable world. So let's start by living in more sustainable homes. SSE Airtricity makes it easy with the Generation Green Home Upgrade. Our award-winning one-stop shop initiative partners with experts in insulation, heating, solar, windows and doors to make your home more energy efficient and cost-effective. We do all the hard work for you with end-to-end project management and a streamlined SEAI grant application process. Discover your home's BER rating at sseairtricity.com/home upgrade and see how a Generation Green home upgrade can benefit you. Registered with the SEAI for home energy upgrades. Grants offered are provided by the Government of Ireland through the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland.
Christmas shopping just got easier with Irwin Expert Electrical's layaway service now open. Secure those must-have gifts from Ninja, Apple, Samsung, LG, Dyson or Sage with just a deposit. Simply choose items you love and pay for them in convenient installments that suit your budget. No stress, no rush. Gift smarter with Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Did you hear about Nissan's 2-for-1 offer?
Wait, do you mean 2-for-1, the license plate, or 2 cars for the price of one?
Both. If you buy a selected 2-for-1 Nissan now, in 2025 they'll replace it with a 251 Nissan for free.
Wow, that really is a 2-for-1 offer.
Buy a selected 2-for-1 Nissan and get a 251 Nissan for free. For details about this and all our 2-for-1 offers, contact your local Nissan dealer or visit nissan.ie. Terms and conditions apply. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. Donegal Minister Charlie McConalogue says he's been told by the Minister for Health that the HSE has been asked to deploy a specialist emergency department team to Letterkenny University Hospital. It comes in a bid to resolve the ongoing issues faced by the department, particularly in relation to patient safety and wait times. Almost 80 GPs last week deferred a meeting with the Minister Stephen Donnelly until a time where he could see firsthand the crisis at Letterkenny University Hospital. The Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Charlie McConalogue, says the visit will still go ahead.
He was open to meeting with the GPs this week. That's not now happening at the request of the GPs, who would prefer to wait until the Minister visits the hospital. So that will be arranged as soon as it can be. In the meantime, though, Minister Donnelly has taken this really important step, I believe, of asking the HSE ED specialist team to get involved in terms of assessing the challenges of the hospital and working to ensure that they get that specialist support.
PSNI in Tyrone are appealing for witnesses and information following the smashing of 2 windows at a house on Lahill Road, Killen. It happened on Thursday last between 6:25 and 7:45 p.m. Those who believe they can assist in police inquiries are asked to call 101. More supports and cheaper childcare are needed to help mothers rejoin the workforce. The OECD data shows Ireland has a very low participation rate for mothers, particularly those from a low educational background. The CSO's labour force survey for the second 3 months of this year shows 61% of working age women are in employment, compared to just over 70% of men, according to the Irish Times. Lecturer in Gender Studies at UCD, Dr. Mary McAuliffe, says the cost of childcare is taking choice away from some mothers to participate in the workforce.
Certainly there is the idea that there should be a choice, that women who are mothers or indeed fathers can choose to stay at home for some part of the child's early life, and that is very important that that choice is there. But I would say it's not a cultural thing so much anymore. It's more an economic thing that is forcing a lot of women to spend maybe a couple of years at home with the children.
On Friday last, a multi-agency day of action took place in the Inishowen area. Gardaí from Buncrana Roads Policing Unit were assisted by RSA enforcement officers and custom officers in conducting checkpoints. A number of fixed charge penalty notices were issued in respect of lifesaver offences, and one driver was arrested on suspicion of drink driving. Irish people are to get more power over how their financial data is used and shared. Irish MEP Frances Fitzgerald is taking on a new role as negotiator for a new Europe-wide law to protect customers' financial data. It will ensure there are effective safeguards and controls in place so companies don't use personal data against their will. Frances Fitzgerald says the legislation will see the right rules in place for services like pensions and insurance.
Within 2 years, we will have a framework for data access and we'll have proper regulation in this area. We already have it in relation to banking. We now need to have it in relation to all of the other services that citizens, that individuals buy from companies, and they need to be sure what's happening to their data.
The RegTech conference will take place in ATU Donegal this Wednesday. The conference, Navigating the Future of Regulation, is part of a Northwest RegTech initiative being developed by Donegal County Council, Derry City and Strabane District Council to establish an all-island national institute. Lucy Peoples has more.
The purpose of the sector is to apply these technologies in a way that will deliver regulatory requirements more efficiently. For regulators, these technologies play an important role in being able to deliver more agile and responsive regulation, particularly in periods of significant change or challenge. This conference will be an important platform which will bring together policy makers, regulators, industry experts and regulated organisations from around the world. This is to discuss and shape the future of regulation and the role of emerging technologies. The event will also examine in more detail how regulation can foster and nurture economic growth and promote public welfare, while also addressing serious challenges that transcend international borders, including climate change, financial stability, health and safety and cybersecurity.
Looking now to weather, cloudy with rain this morning, turning heavy at times too. The rain will move off to the north later this afternoon, followed by scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees in an easterly breeze. That's all for now. The next news update is at 11 o'clock. In the meantime, keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. From myself and the news team, good morning. The obituary notices this Monday morning, October 23rd. The death has taken place of Jerry Ioannidis of Meenaniller, Derrybeg, formerly of Corfu, Greece. His remains will repose at Rorty's funeral home Derrybeg today from 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Rosary tonight at 8 p.m. Funeral Mass tomorrow in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg at 1 o'clock, with interment afterwards in Maharagallen Cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Mary Harkin, Strats, Mount Carndonagh. Remains reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow at 10:15, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart Carndonagh for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 10 o'clock tonight. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to Friends of the Inishowen Hospice Carndonagh, care of any family member. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Packy McGonigal, Drung, Quigley's Point. Packy's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral Mass will take place this morning at 11 o'clock in St Columba's Church, Drung, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to the Patients Comfort Fund Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of any family member. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on the parish website. The death has occurred of John Flanagan, Chircallan, Stranorlar. Remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral leaving from there this morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam at churchservices.tv. Family time this morning before the funeral. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
If you're not with Uno Energy, chances are you're paying more than you need to for your electricity. As Ireland's newest energy supplier, we offer Ireland's cheapest electricity rates, saving our customers up to €355 a year. So if you want to pay less for energy, simply pay a visit to unoenergy.ie and sign up for big savings with smaller bills. With Uno Energy, you just know. Uno Energy discount rate EAB €1665. Supplier's pricing may change. For T's and C's and rates, see unoenergy.ie.
You're very welcome back to the 9 Till Noon Show. Good morning. If you have just joined us, the head of Sealta, Tony Canavan's going to be back on the show. We had a chat with him, a brief chat last week, and he wanted to come back on for a longer chat, so we're going to facilitate that. So if you've an interest in the hospital services, you'll be interested in that. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. Call us on 074 91 25,000. I got a note in that says, Dear Highland Radio, just writing a short note. We work for a well-known nursing home in Donegal. We just came across an ad that our boss had placed on the internet looking for staff. It stated that wages started at €13.75 an hour plus overtime. We were very upset as staff because we were not getting what they'd put on the advert. Staff that have been there for years were just getting €12 an hour, and that is just in the past year. Before that, it was €11 an hour. If we say anything, we are just cut down. We would love if you would read this out and see how everyone feels out there. As healthcare and working in private nursing home, we feel there's no one to stand up for us. Thank you. So they're on they're currently on €12 an hour in this facility, but there's an ad going out looking for staff at $13.75 per hour plus overtime. They feel they can't speak out within the organisation that they work in, but they just want to know if what you guys out there think. So I said I would read it. Right, okay. Coming up a little later on in the programme, as I mentioned, Brendan Devaney will be joining us just after 11. We will be discussing the weekend sporting action as he looks forward to the podcast this evening. So any questions in relation to that, please get in touch. Or that you want, or discussion points that you want for Brendan. Where Is My Mind is a podcast about how we can better take on the beauty and the beast that is the human mind in the head melty chaos of the modern world. Hosted by Niall Breslin, one of Ireland's most formidable and inspiring mental health advocates. It's on in Grianon Theatre on Saturday, October 28th. It starts at 8 p.m, so you can check out the box office there if you would be interested. And I enjoyed my conversation with Niall Breslin not so long ago. I think he's really grown into his role, obviously through his podcast and his advocacy. So I think many people will enjoy that. All right, we're going to take a break so you can play the bingo numbers. Good luck if you are playing today.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 Till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 23rd of October. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S11. It's game number 43. The numbers are 50, 74, 20, 30, 43, 28, 83, 7, 16, and finally 55. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Order your new 241 car at Highland Motors Open Week. Choose from Citroen, Dacia and Renault. Choose from diesel, petrol, hybrid or full electric. Choose from hatchbacks right up to 7-seaters and from an amazing commercial range. Choose your new 241 this week at Highland Motors, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Ifford. Christmas Layaway Club now open with lots of Christmas gift ideas in store, like Hollywood mirrors, dressing tables, beanbags and much more. Need a new mattress? Visit our sleep centre on the first floor with quality beds and mattresses at discount prices. In stock and ready for immediate collection or delivery. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. with hot lunches served daily in our coffee shop. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors. The Hall Ifford.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
Prepare for the merriest time of the year at Sister Sarah's Letterkenny. Plan your unforgettable Christmas party now with fantastic food and festive fun this December. Sister Sarah's are proud sponsors of today's show.
Okay, now we are joined on the programme by Tony Canavan, who is the CEO of the Cialta Hospital Group. Tony, thanks so much for your time, and it's good to get a longer conversation with you. How are you keeping?
Good, thank you. Good, thanks, Greg.
All right, good to have you on board. We just heard there in the last few moments that Donegal Minister Charlie McConalogue has been told by the Minister for Health that the HSE has been asked to deploy a specialist emergency department team to Letterkenny University Hospital. Is that news that you welcome?
It is, of course. To be honest with you, it's news for me as well. But that's okay. There is a team working within the HSE. They've visited a number of the emergency departments and a number of the hospitals across the country over the last couple of years. Indeed, actually, we've been working with them at Mayo University Hospital and indeed Galway University Hospitals at different stages over the last couple of years. So, by all means, if there's anything that can, any expertise or insights or help or otherwise that can be brought in, we'd be more than happy with that.
And what do they do? Do they sort of assess the workings of it, make suggestions, maybe make recommendations if extra resources are needed? What is the scope of that team? And I'm sorry to thrust this upon you if it's the same team that we're both talking of, Tony, and I appreciate that you're only hearing this news yourself now.
Yeah, no, that's okay. The way we've worked with them in the past, and I would expect it to be the same in Letterkenny, is that they have a team who are experienced that have gone around to a number of hospital sites, so they have the benefit of seeing what has worked and what hasn't worked in other locations. They come on site for a brief initial period, meet with the clinicians, meet with the management team, meet with ourselves probably as well from the sales group, and gain an understanding of how the hospital works and what the various issues are, and then maybe make some recommendations or arrive at some recommendations, usually with the team on the ground, as to what would work well and what might work better. Sometimes that is around additional resources. More often than not, it's around using our existing resources more effectively.
Just as it relates to the commentary from consultants and the GPs, and some of the issues I raised with you in the last interview last week, Tony, do you accept that there's a particular problem, not just in the ED, but across many services at Letterkenny University Hospital? So I just want to establish where our starting point is. Do you accept that there are significant problems at LUH that need particular attention?
Yes, to answer the question briefly and succinctly, I would say yes. And I would say that the problems that we see at Letterkenny are largely associated with access. So when we look in the emergency department on any given day, when there are patients lying on trolleys awaiting admission, that's an access issue. Getting them into the bed, into the most appropriate location as quickly as possible, that's an access issue. And the other key access area that we also have problems at Letterkenny is around people awaiting elective procedures, and so they wait for periods of time on a waiting list before they can access the service in that way. And both of those are issues in Letterkenny. Now, I think to be fair and to be balanced in my comment, Greg, I would say that that is also true. If I was talking to you about any of the other 5 hospitals in our group, I would be saying something similar. And indeed, we could probably have a similar conversation around lots of hospitals around the country. So Letterkenny isn't different in some respects, but I think where it is definitely different is because of the population and it serves and where it is located. That's what makes Letterkenny different.
Okay, now much has been made about the funding of Letterkenny University Hospital. You know the statistics yourself, 6th busiest hospital, 14th in terms of funding. And I know you don't like to compare one hospital to another, but we're just shy of half of the funding of Sligo University Hospital, which for people in South Donegal, that's their hospital. And if you just go a little bit further north, then Letterkenny is your hospital. So invariably, particularly for someone like me who lives right between the two of them, I can't help but compare them. So can you give us an explanation as to why the funding level is struck at the 6,722 odd per patient compared to other hospitals?
So, and again, this is one of the areas that I disagreed with you on last week, and I'm going to disagree with you again this week, Greg. So I look very closely, obviously, at the spend of all of our hospitals, including Letterkenny, including Sligo and all of them. So I look at them every single month, and I understand exactly what's going in and what's going out. And what I can see is that essentially that the spend in Letterkenny is approximately very close to the spend in Sligo, if we're making that comparison right now. And so that's this differential in funding that's described doesn't exist. The spend in both is very similar, very comparable.
Well, can you explain as to how a document can be produced that shows the funding per hospital divisible by the amount of patients that hospital sees, and then coming up with a figure per patient? Where is the balance made up that's not shown on that sheet?
I think what again I think that how that's best explained then is if you go back to what I was saying about the population served by Letterkenny. So the population of County Donegal, in excess of 160,000 people, probably look to Letterkenny as their port of call when they need health services, and a smaller population looks towards Sligo, County Leitrim combined, parts of Mayo possibly and parts of South Donegal look to Sligo University Hospital for care, and that's a smaller population. So when you divide it on that basis, certainly you could come up with a figure of that nature. But at the end of the day, I look at the bottom line each month, what's spent on each hospital, and I can tell you that the two amounts are very comparable.
Yes, of course. But if you have two restaurants of the same size and you have a budget to feed 100 covers in one restaurant and 200 in the other, I think it would be fair to break down the quality of food each person might get in each restaurant. I'm sorry to be convoluted in my example, but I mean it's not irrelevant how many people pass through one hospital compared to another, surely.
No, and you're absolutely right in that, Greg. And when we look across like the key measures, the numbers of people that turn up at the emergency department, the number of patients that are discharged from the hospital, the number of babies that are born in the hospital, for example, Letterkenny is higher on each of those measures than Sligo and indeed Mayo and other hospitals as well. Letterkenny is an extremely busy Model 3 hospital. We describe hospitals as various models, and it's an extremely busy Model 3.
But it's more than a Model 3 hospital, is it not? Really, it's like more. It's closer to a Model 4. You have rectal cancer surgeries, breast cancer surgeries, metabolic surgeries. I mean, is it really not worthy of a higher designation and therefore higher funding than Model 3? It does a lot of the work a Model 4 hospital does.
So I would certainly say that Letterkenny should be funded for the level of work that it does, but I'd be slow to to jump to saying that it should be a Model 4 hospital, because that talks to the quality of the care that's provided, and it's not possible to provide that level of high-end care in too many sites. So having one Model 4 hospital within the group is probably what the population can sustain and what's needed to provide for the needs of the population. That's in Galway currently, but what we do need to make sure is that there is sufficient funding in Letterkenny for the services that it provides.
So, given the services that it does provide, in addition to what another Model 3 hospital may not provide, do you still maintain that Letterkenny University Hospital is adequately funded? Should it not have equivalent funding to a hospital at least that provides some of the services I said that it does?
Yeah, my perspective is slightly different, and it does go back to what you were saying at the outset, that I don't really like making comparisons between hospitals because there are so many differences. But if you were to ask me, do I think that we have sufficient resource, sufficient staff, or sufficient beds, or whatever we describe that resource to meet all of the needs of the population of Donegal, we don't. I'm not satisfied that we have sufficient resource currently.
Okay.
And we do need additional beds for sure, and we need additional staff at Letterkenny Hospital in order to provide all of the range of care that that people of Donegal can reasonably expect.
So what's it going to take to deliver those? Because I recognise there's an issue, not that it matters what I think. You do, clearly GPs do, and the public certainly do. So what does it take to get it to a point that you can look at it and go, right, okay, well, we have the quantity of staff there that we need. We have the quantity of beds. Do you know what I mean? We always feel to be lagging behind. it's good that you recognise the issues, but you're also in a position of authority to sort of suggest when these issues will actually be addressed.
Yeah. So again, not everybody would agree with this approach, but this is my approach, and I think it is an approach that does work. So I think the very first thing that all of us need to do, whether I'm talking about Letterkenny Hospital today or whether I'm talking about the wholesale to group, the very first thing that we have to do is we have to make the best possible use of the resources that we have at our disposal. And I would again be very honest, in lots of respects in Letterkenny Hospital we are doing that, but in some we're not. There's room for improvement.
Can I make one suggestion in that? Sorry to cut across you, because you say there, and it's quite an interesting point, that we have to best use our resources. We are part of a hospital group. Let's take bowel cancer for an example. We have no radiologists, so treatments and other work can't go ahead as planned because we have no radiologist. We are part of the Seattle Hospital Group. What is there, 29 radiologists in Galway? You know, could a few of their hours not be allocated to Letterkenny? That's an effective use of resources, isn't it? We have none. There's 29 there. We're part of a hospital group. Why can a radiologist not come to Letterkenny for a few hours at a time and facilitate some of this life-saving, better outcomes work that could be done locally?
Sure. So we do have radiologists in Letterkenny. To start off with, there are 2 permanent consultant radiologists working in Letterkenny right now.
But what has happened is some of this work has not been able to proceed because neither were available. So sorry, I beg your pardon. I should have phrased that somewhat better.
And you're right in the general point that you're making. While we have 2 permanent consultant radiologists in Letterkenny, that's an issue. You know, we do need to. We have 5 posts that we could fill on a permanent basis, but we haven't been successful in filling those posts as yet. So so that is an issue. We only have 2 permanent consultant radiologists. There are practical issues, of course, in moving people around the place. So if we take somebody who's based in Galway and ask them to work in Letterkenny, assuming that they're willing, we would lose 4 hours travel time up and 4 hours travel time back. In which those in that day, of course, there's an awful lot of
8 hours that are lost going in the other direction by regular people. Tony, with respect to you, we're talking about one individual here. There's thousands of us have to lose those 8 hours overnight stays. We've no buses to Galway. Do you know what I mean? I'm not
absolutely
trying to be overly challenging, but I perhaps wouldn't lose a ton of sleep. I know those are 8 hours that are lost in helping people. I get that. Don't get me wrong, but is that really a reason not to have this type of an arrangement within the one hospital group?
So, and we do have visiting consultants that travel, all across the region and providing services in and out of various hospitals. There are consultants, for example, that travel between Sligo and Letterkenny as well to provide services there. But you're absolutely right, that there is a very significant number of patients that travel from County Donegal down to the southern end of the group in order to avail of services. Now, while that's not ideal, I think it is the only practical arrangement we can arrive at in respect of some services. Very specialist services can really only be provided on one site to the quality that we want to provide them at, and we can't sacrifice that quality in order to be able to provide that service somewhere else.
Now, there are limitations, and I think you've recognised this in areas such as cardiology, radiology, and of course the beds, which we've talked about. This is leading to frustration amongst consultants and the oncology ward generally. They don't feel that they can give the right decision at the right time and the right cancer treatments when people need them. That's and you know yourself, Tony, that is life-altering, potentially life-ending. Now, when you've got the medical professionals locally feeling that hamstrung, is that not an area that you could give particular focus on? Because, as I say, in all of these conversations, we're talking about Donegal people who've been told they've got cancer, or they're waiting to find out if they've got cancer or other conditions, and they're not getting the same treatment as someone might in a different hospital, even in this region.
So yes is the short answer again to your question. Could we and should we put more emphasis and focus on cancer services in Letterkenny? Yes, we should, particularly on oncology services. That's chemotherapy treatments for patients that are living locally and can avail of them. Now, we already provide a very comprehensive service there, but you're right, it's a very pressurised service, and at times, doctors are having to make very difficult decisions about who starts and who's ready to start and who's not ready to start and so on. Now, we do, as much as possible, we do share the burden of that around the region, but that puts a burden of travel then on some patients. And really what we need to do is make sure that we have sufficient capacity to deliver chemotherapy where it's appropriate in Letterkenny to people from Donegal. And similarly, the breast cancer service that's provided from Letterkenny, that is linked closely with the service in Galway, and having the two of them linked up in that way is good from the point of view of the quality of care that's provided.
Well, with respect, Tony, with respect, only 40% of cancer patients receive their chemo in line with the NCCP's own guidelines.
I think it's probably higher than that over the course of the year, but it certainly dips as low as that, and it has dipped as low as that at times. But over the, on average over the course of the year, we're doing a lot better than that in terms of accessing within the.
But you're
NCCP
aware of delays to chemotherapy because there's no beds, literally no beds, no staff. Limited access to the pharmacy. So we've got, and we can dispute the figures, 40% of cancer patients receiving their chemo in line with NCCP guidelines. This is another, it feels like a Donegal health tax, don't get me wrong. And also, I hope you're acutely aware of the delays in chemotherapy, and you know what that must feel like to someone who has that diagnosis. They want to get on with the treatment, which they know is going to be really difficult in them, and then they're told, sorry, we don't have a bed, or sorry, we don't have the staff, or sorry, we can't get proper access to the pharmacy.
Yeah, so I agree with you that it is a system that is under pressure constantly. I think our figures would normally be higher than that, would certainly be higher than 40%, but you're absolutely right. For an individual patient to be told, first of all, that they have a diagnosis of cancer, then to be told that there is a treatment path that needs to be followed, and that time is important, and then if there's any delay in that, or any even suggestion of a delay, that is, of course, a significant concern for patients.
Can I ask you about radiology? I know you don't want to compare hospitals, but I can't help but do so, in that the radiology department at Letterkenny University Hospital, we used to have 6 full-time radiologists. Now we just have 2 and 3 locums. Sligo, I know you don't want to compare, they have 8. Galway, 29. How is that in any way fair to Donegal patients who all pay the same tax, who all have, I think, a reasonable expectation of an equal level of health care? How is that allowed to happen under your watch, Tony?
Yeah, so first of all, I would agree with you that probably 7 approved substantive posts for Letterkenny is not enough, and we certainly need to look at that and see if we can increase the number of radiologists in the hospital. But I think there's another important point that we need to bear in mind, that even if we got approval for additional posts today, we haven't successfully filled some of those posts, despite having tried to recruit them on a number of occasions in the past. So the reason that we have 2 permanent consultants and 5 other posts that are as yet unfilled on a permanent basis is because we failed to recruit, and that's something that we really need to look at very closely. And I agree, we also, what we would like to get to is probably a position of having 9 radiologists or something like that for Letterkenny University Hospital.
You'd be familiar with, and in fairness to the likes of the GPs and consultants, yes, they've spoken out publicly in the last couple of weeks, but they've been making representations far long before that privately. Some of the concerns focus around what's been described as a non-functioning urology service, long delays in treatments. As I say, I believe strong representations have been made from the hospital in that regard. Yet it's not there. We don't have an emergency urology service. Why?
So we have 2 consultant urologists currently, and that isn't sufficient, I suppose, to run a full on-call service. But again, it's one of these services that must be delivered not just on an individual hospital basis, but across the region. It's not sustainable to provide a service of the appropriate quality, in all of our various hospitals. It must be that urology in Sligo, urology in Letterkenny, urology in Galway, that they're linked up and that they're operating together.
I mentioned to you in passing, not in passing, but we had a brief amount of time, Tony, about surgeries and elective surgeries being cancelled and surgeons looking to catch up on those lists, offering to work weekends indeed, but weren't supported in doing so. It must be incredibly demoralising and frustrating when they want to get people in, want to get them better as much as possible, but not being supported by the very organisation that they work for to do so. Have you any explanation for that?
I haven't, and actually I'm a little bit baffled by it, to be honest with you, because in all respects and throughout, pretty much since April of this year, we've been engaging with consultants across the hospital group to work weekends and to do additional lists in order to be able to tackle our waiting lists. And we've made good progress both on our outpatient and inpatient waiting lists across the group and in Letterkenny. So I'm a little bit baffled if consultants are saying that they're available to work weekends, but the hospital can't support them. So we'll certainly look at that very closely, and if that's something that people are interested in doing, that's something we'll look at.
We'll stay in the ED. Well, I'll come back to the emergency department in a second, because that's going to be the subject of this external review. But diabetes, is a big issue. If I'm not mistaken, there's one or two, I think it's actually one endocrinologist, which again, and I'm sorry to compare to other hospitals, that's the lowest ratio in the entire country. How is that acceptable? What can be done to address that?
And it's absolutely not acceptable. And again, if you look at a service like endocrinology, of course some of that has to be delivered through the hospital, but also a very significant part of it should be delivered through the community, and we need consultants that are based both in the hospital and community in order to be able to do that effectively. Donegal is a really good example of a county that needs that type of service and needs it to be embedded. It needs to have a really strongly embedded endocrinology service. So what we've been doing over the last while is working with community to develop a number of chronic disease management programs in the community. Endocrinology is one of those. It does include consultant posts, and we would be hopeful that by structuring posts in that way and by putting other staff around those posts, that it becomes attractive for people to apply for the consultant posts, and then it becomes sustainable in the longer term. And ideally what we would like to see is that we end up then providing the majority or the appropriate level of care for people with diabetes in the community, as opposed to what we're trying to do currently, which is providing too much of that care in hospital.
You talked last week about the region, or Letterkenny University Hospital, having the highest nurses retention rate in the country. And I got a correspondence from a couple of, well, I won't say, but anyway, I know they can't speak out, but from a couple of people that are nurses there. And they said that 12 nurses have left in the last 18 months, 16 in the ICU, 10 in orthopaedic and 12 in surgical 2. A huge volume of senior nurses have left. So when you say that it has one of the highest retention rates, were you factoring all that in?
So and of course what I said was highest retention rates within the group. I'm not familiar with the retention rates around the whole country, but I can certainly speak to what's happening across the 6 hospitals in our group. So nursing retention rates are higher in Letterkenny than they are in any of our other hospitals, and they have been actually for some time. And it reflects what people actually know, that when people make a lifestyle choice to move to Donegal and to work at Letterkenny University Hospital, that tends to be a long-term decision. Whereas we find a different profile in Galway, for example, where people are more transitory.
Yeah. We saw I think it's the Gardaí have started interviewing people as they leave. Do we do that? Like, why?
We do. We do exit interviews, not with all staff and not maybe as systematically as we should, but we certainly do exit interviews, and we do exit interviews at Letterkenny as well. And the only point that I was going to add, while overall our retention levels in terms of nursing is good in Letterkenny and reflects well in the hospital, that doesn't mean that we don't have difficulties in specific areas, particularly specialist areas like you've mentioned there, ICU, where it's not easy to train, or it's not easy to get trained ICU nurses. So we do have difficulties there, of course, and orthopaedic specialty as well will be one of the other areas. So the general point is still true, but we do have difficulties in some areas.
Someone texted in saying, we were talking about radiologists, and you were outlining the travel 4 hours up, 4 hours down. They asked, could a radiologist not work remotely? I'm not sure if that's possible, but that's the question they asked.
And it's a very good question, actually, and the answer is yes, but not entirely is the short answer. So for example, some of the radiology service at Letterkenny University Hospital is delivered remotely. For example, some of the on-call services is delivered remotely, and that means that the X-ray image is taken within the hospital, or possibly even in one of the new facilities out in the community, and then it is read and reported on by a radiologist who's not even in Donegal. So that is taking place currently, and some of that is possible, but you still need to have a core radiological expertise on site.
You said there was 2 urologists at Letterkenny University Hospital. A listener says, did one of them not stand down?
And that's correct, and it's continuing to provide a limited outpatient
so it's one
service,
then, it's not 2, it's 1.
Correct, yeah, that's correct.
Right, okay. So I mean, obviously, just maybe in terms of some of my wording and the question approaches, Tony, you know, you would phrase things a little bit differently. But everything I've raised with you through the course of this interview and the last interview, you haven't disputed, you've accepted, which talks to me to a hospital in a real problematic situation. We haven't really even dug into the ED today, which has been the focus of much of the commentary over the last couple of weeks. So what can you do? What commitment can you give us that all of these things will be gone through? You know, what measures are in place? What is the action plan? What supports are you going to need for the management locally? Is there any extra funding available? You know, so we've established an awful lot of issues here in real important areas of healthcare. What commitment as the head of Cialta can you give the people of Donegal today that not only do you notice and recognise and understand the problems, but you are actually going to do something about it?
Yeah, so we haven't touched on ED in any great way. There's 2 patients awaiting admission on trolleys in the emergency department at Letterkenny this morning. So there are, and I think that's it's not the lowest across our group, but it's the second.
No,
lowest.
and in fairness, a couple of days last week it was single-digit figures as well. So it's not
correct.
Just
doesn't
happen to be this morning. But go ahead, Tony.
And the reason I mention that is because we have actually seen a period of relative stability in the emergency department in terms of the numbers of patients awaiting admission on the trolleys. It has been busy with attendances, but not huge numbers of people awaiting admission on trolleys. So that's a good thing. I suppose what I would say first of all is that, and this goes back to the letter that we talked about last week from the GPs, and it triggers something, I suppose, for me, that what the Cialta group is about is working with Letterkenny University Hospital and working with everybody else that's a stakeholder in that, and the GPs would be, you know, key to that, of course. Working to try and make things better. There's absolutely no doubt that it's a hospital that's under significant pressure, and we can see that, you know, that the numbers of patients attending the emergency departments is growing, that the activity in the hospital is growing. But we must, first of all, as healthcare providers, work together to make sure that we're using our existing resources in the hospital and in the community as best we possibly can. And we must advocate then together on the back of that for the additional resources that we all acknowledge are required. And I'm absolutely committed to looking and advocating for Letterkenny Hospital just as I do for every other hospital in the group. But I would say that the best way for us to do that together is by, first of all, making sure that we're making the best use of what we have.
Yeah, okay. But that doesn't... I don't feel any hope in there, Tony. Sorry. I don't...
Well, what I would say
is that you're on the same page as all of us, but I was kind of looking to you for solutions, if that makes sense.
Maybe not so much on the same page as all of you, in the sense that what I'm saying is that that there is scope for improvement in what all of us are doing today. To make things better with what we have. Of course, we should look for the additional resource that's required, and we will do that. And I've said it, we need additional beds in Letterkenny, we need additional staff in Letterkenny, and we'll chase that. But my view is that the best way to make that argument is by demonstrating that we're making the best possible use of every resource that we have currently.
And where are the gaps that we aren't doing that in at the moment? Because it's quite a pointed. It's a kind of a pointed comment. So what do you mean by that? Do you mean the hospital is not making as perhaps as effective use of the funding it's receiving from the HSC? Or what are you saying there?
Yeah, so I'm saying that all of us, including the hospital, including the Cialta group, if you want to put it that way, the CEO could be more effective or whatever. And I'm also saying that all of the services in the community as well could be more effective in what we do.
Like how?
And that's really important. So for example, while we, if I say that there are 90 additional beds required within Letterkenny University Hospital, the question then that I would ask is, are we making the best use of the existing bed complement that we have? And I would say that we aren't, because we currently have patients in beds in Letterkenny University Hospital that are fit for discharge to go home or to go to some further care. We are currently providing care to patients in hospital that we know would receive better care if the services were available in the community, and if we restructured the way we deliver care in the community, in accordance with Sláinte Care, that would also be more efficient. And those are the types of changes that we need to start implementing, the kind of things that are within our own control to make things better for people in Donegal.
So can I ask, other than what's already being done, Tony, and other than the ongoing work that happens, within a hospital group the size of Cialta, specific to Letterkenny, what is going to happen, if anything, differently going forward to address some of the issues that we've been talking about today and the issues in the ED, for an example? Because I can tell you right now, our population is going to increase dramatically. It has by 10 to 12,000 already over the last couple of years. We are getting older. More of us are getting older, and we have kind of a high presentation, with breathing issues and what have you. So we're going to see more people that are going to present for the hospital like that. So things are actually just going to go and get better. But in the short to medium, more busy. But in the short to medium term, off the back of what the GPs have said, off the back of what the consultants said, and off the back of conversations like me and you are having now, what is going to be done differently, if anything, in the short to medium term to try and balance the playing field for patients of Letterkenny University Hospital here in Donegal, if anything?
Yeah, so going back again to what I was saying earlier on, we do need to engage with GPs on how we're using our existing emergency department and our existing facilities within the hospital. So I think that's one of the first things that I'd like to do, is to engage with the GPs on the back of their invitation and their expression of interest in being involved in this process. They're at the gateway of meeting each patient, usually before they turn up at the emergency department or at the hospital itself, and so we're really interested in working with them on how we might make things better. I think within the hospital itself, we are changing how we move patients through the hospital, through the emergency department, into wards, into beds, and back out and into the community again. And we're trying to make that as efficient as we can. That is changing, and that is helping as well. And then in the more medium term, we're also working in the community and with our colleagues in the community to develop those services so that less people have to receive care in the hospital and more can receive care out in the community, in community-based hubs and in primary care centres, rather than having to present or be admitted into a hospital bed.
And I mentioned this last week. Lots of people are turning up at the hospital, with twisted ankles that require stitches, that really aren't necessarily emergency cases that could probably be dealt with in a different environment. Did you reference this last week? I can't remember off the top of my head, Tony. A place that takes those people out of the ED.
Yeah, so I think that's so that a minor injuries unit or something like that. A minor injury. So we have one in Roscommon which works very, very well, and it is extremely busy. Is probably the best way to describe it. And the number of people attending has grown for the last 3 years since COVID, grown very significantly. So could something like that work in Donegal? I wouldn't rule it out.
Can you rule it in?
What I would say,
because that's what we want.
Well, what I would say is that we've already introduced a change in how we manage those types of patients in the emergency department, and there's a particular pathway that helps to move those patients through more quickly. If it's clear that Tony Canavan doesn't require to be admitted but does require some sort of medical attention and then discharge, we have a pathway, and we have skilled advanced nurse practitioners and consultants and doctors available to deal with those patients. That's working well. There is a review taking place of minor injuries units around the country. My understanding is
they're working really well. I just don't understand why we can't have one up here. I mean, I've seen where they're all dotted, and it's that old Dublin-Galway line bother shouting. Why can't we just have one up here?
Yeah, and again, I suppose one of the complications that arises with them is having good clinical governance in place, so that if you take our ED, our minor injuries unit in Roscommon, that's supported by the ED in Galway, and to have that kind of outreach, that's an important part of it.
And finally, Tony, and I won't delay, and I appreciate your time, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. When I speak to Sean Murphy as the general manager at Letterkenny University Hospital. He recognises the issues, and I get the feeling, and I hope I'm not attributing the false emotions to him, that to some extent his hands are tied, even though he can't say that. I'm talking to you now, Tony, and I know if you had a magic wand, I get the impression there's quite a bit of stuff you'd want to do. I'm feeling that your hands are tied. Is that the case? I mean, why are the HSE centrally clearly not listening to the representations that you're making about healthcare on the West Coast? Can you speak to that? I mean, are you, within your role, if it's how you feel, can you say that I'm trying my darndest here to try and get decent healthcare for the West and Northwest, but they won't bloody listen to me in Dublin?
What would I say to that? What I would say is that, first of all, in a sense, all of our hands are tied, in the sense that there is always a limit on the amount of money or the amount of resource that anybody can allocate. So whether it's Bernard Glastra, CEO of the HSE, or whether it's the Minister for Health, there is a limit to the amount of money that he can allocate. And I suppose I see my job and Sean's job is to advocate for Letterkenny University Hospital to get as much of that additional resource as we can, because we know that the need is there. But the other part of our job, and I've said it earlier on, which I think is equally as important and probably more important, is to make absolutely certain that we're putting what we have to the best possible use we can. And I think as managers, and I would be, it may be easy for me to come on the radio and talk to you, Greg, and say, well, God, if the lads in Dublin would only give us more money, we could do a better job. But actually, I think people in Donegal can expect from me and from Sean and from the other people that are working at Letterkenny Hospital that we're doing our damnedest to manage as best we can. So
since this emerged, and it's not new, but since this, have you made specific representations on our behalf, Tony, to the head of the HSE or the Health Minister?
Since when?
Since the first GP letter 2 weeks ago. You know,
no,
if you say,
not as part of that process.
Say, hold on, now in my area here, and specifically in this area, I need more from you. Are you going to give it to us?
Yeah, and the way that we do that is we have a process through which we put forward bids to what's called the estimates process, and then that carries forward in the discussions between the Department of Health and the Department of Finance around the time of the budget, and then becomes part of our service plan for the year ahead. So our expectation is that the budget, having just been announced at the beginning of October, is that a service plan will be developed, and that our asks for Letterkenny, insofar as they can be met, will be dealt with in that.
But there is stuff you could do internally. You could look further at remote working of radiology. You could engage with the hospital about facilitating surgeons to work weekends if they so wish. I mean, there is quite a bit of stuff in here that we should be able to do internally.
And I agree with that. I think there are things that we can do internally within CELTA, absolutely, and I agree that there are things that can be done internally within Letterkenny University Hospital, and I would agree that part of my job has to be about trying to get the most out of those.
Okay, Tony, thanks for your time.
Thanks indeed, Greg.
All right, take care. Tony Canavan, CEO of the CELTA Hospital Group. I know a lot of you out there have a great interest in a health service, and maybe not all the answers that you wanted there, but it's important to get all this stuff on the record. I hope we touched on an awful lot of what you wanted. But the problem I have here, just before I take the break, is that, and I appreciate Tony speaking to us, I understand that there's only so much within his gift that he can comment on or can adjust. Whilst all this is being looked at, we have people who are, as we heard from consultants, maybe dying before they should, poor outcomes, losing organs, the stress and anxiety and fear amongst the population, the older population, their families, everyone, someone going in there with a kid, you know what I mean? That all still remains, and it's not going to go away. I wish I could influence things in such a way, or whoever could, that things would change. But what we really need is to see change, to see better outcomes, to better experiences. Because all of us, I think, is there anyone listening that's not had someone in the hospital recently and has a story? That's not good enough, is it? We can't accept that. So we'll see what's next from the GPs. They're threatening. They've threatened to, if they don't see action, to take it out into the streets. There's a lot there from Tony Canavan. Was there enough in there to sort of say, right, okay, maybe we don't need to take people out into the streets? Is there enough in there for consultants, junior doctors, nurses to say, oh, actually, you know what? I might look forward to coming into work tomorrow because things are going to improve? Probably not.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Looking for the perfect Christmas party venue? Join us at Sister Sarah's for a mouth-watering Christmas party menu. Now available to book on 91222238. Sister Sarah's, proud sponsors of today's show.
Shrink your bill with Double Savers at Dunnes Stores. Save in the aisle and treat yourself with selected flavours of Pringles and Cadbury Snack Bar 6-packs, only €2 each. Mix and match 3 for €5 on selected soft drinks and treats like Coke Zero 2 litre and Freddo Bar 5-packs. Then save again at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Double Savers from Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
The Fáilte Ireland Employer Excellence Programme is now open to tourism businesses of every size, from the smallest attraction to the largest hotel. Join hundreds of others already attracting top talent with the Employer Excellence Programme, the mark that will help you hire. Register at fáilteIreland.ie/employer excellence.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, your football specialist. Adidas football boots in many ranges like Crazy Fast, Copa Pure and Predator Accuracy, Puma King Ultimate, King Top, King Future Match for kids and adults. Available in a mixture of soft and firm ground. Adidas socks and shorts, gum shields that can be remolded to improve fit. Match up your boots with Adidas or O'Neill's set of socks and shorts. Brian McCormick Sports, your football specialist. Click on bmcsports.ie or call in Main Street, Letterkenny.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
Hyundai's big offers continue at Hyundai dealerships nationwide. Test drive the 2024 Hyundai range, including the all-new Kona, Ireland's best-selling car, the Tucson, and winners of World Car of the Year, the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6. Avail of the big selection of offers when you book your Hyundai 241 model. Hyundai, a class apart.
Your local dealer is Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Call 9122 600.
Country comes to Cranford this Tuesday with dancing to Kieran Rosny at Logues of Cranford. That's Big Band Country Nights this Tuesday with Kieran Rosny at Logues of Cranford, where you will also find music in the wee bar and old-time dancing on Sundays.
Make your Christmas party unforgettable at Sister Sarah's this December. Book now for the best Christmas party in town. See Facebook for menu and dates. Sister Sarah's are proud sponsors of today's show.
O'Neill's Sportswear Warehouse Clearance Sale is back in Strabane this week from this Wednesday the 25th through to Saturday the 28th. There will be major reductions on unmissable products. Find incredible deals on training gear, jerseys, jackets and so much more. Don't miss out. O'Neill's Sportswear Warehouse Clearance Sale in Strabane, Wednesday to Saturday. O'Neill's, live for it.
The best businesses never stop beginning. So whether you're starting or growing your business, we want to make it easier for you. At Bank of Ireland, our faster, easier online loan applications help your business take the next step. Search Bank of Ireland Business Loans. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Over 18s only. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
New this week at Home Store and More. All loose cutlery and all cutlery sets are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price loose cutlery and all the half price cutlery sets are gone, they're gone. Also, all vacuum storage bags and all living room throws are still all half price. But when all the half price vacuum storage bags and all the half price living room throws are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,800 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Tá rudí lurgan muid sa síl. Rionn acu tá dir fáil sa duine. Rionn eile acu dreithe persanta. Gaum muid bhocaliad nús mantóir, scoláire, cosantóir. Fáin muid iad a gara, I gumradaí, ach go háirithe, I nghail. Is féidir iad uile a amsú in áit amháin. Is long I áit. Bí ní smú, téisteach a searbhís cháil na héireann, ag navy.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport, where you can now fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect via Heathrow to over 80 destinations worldwide, including Boston, New York and more.
All right, cloudy with rain developing, turning heavy at times too, though it will move off to the north later this afternoon, followed by scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees in an easterly breeze. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. Thanks very much for all your calls and comments coming in so far this morning. I really do appreciate it. Caller works in the hospital and says it's not just the patients that are suffering, but the staff too, being short-staffed as it is. But if there's a member of staff off sick, they're not replaced and they're left at a further deficit. Another caller says the chairs in the ED need to be changed. People with medical issues cannot sit on metal chairs for 12 hours at a time. And those are things, and we kind of got a commitment in that regard, those are the things you would hope sort of can be, addressed to try and improve people's experience. Well done to Greg for a great interview with Tony Canavan. Thanks very much. I do appreciate it. Hi, Greg. When did it change to put them wards? I live in Inishowen, go to Letterkenny, to the ED, to X-ray, and then I sit all day. Greg, that was a great interview. Betty didn't think you would have all the figures and able to quote them to him. We can only hope he does something and not all talk, no action. Cancer and mental health patients should never have to go through ED. Can I also say women suffering suspected miscarriages shouldn't have to go through the ED either, and others. People sitting in beds waiting for investigation. Some of these people could be at home. However, they're told to stay in to get the investigation quicker. That comes up from time to time. Another listener says, so patients die as processes go on. And that's something I tried to reference before the break. Hi, Greg. This man needs to know his figures for nursing staff at LK. Not doing exit interviews is crazy. PEDS has not been mentioned. Parents need to know, as do people attending ED. My apologies if I didn't get to all areas. I just tried to get in as much as I possibly could, and also in areas where you would hope that some action could be taken in the short to medium term for staff and for patients. Independent assessment of the hospital is necessary, believes the caller. Donegal has been wrote off by government. Very simple. We've seen as a Sinn Féin area, even the two Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil one has resigned and given up. The other one won't even chat to his local radio station. Well, he attached to the newsroom. He just won't speak to me on this programme. He'll speak to Donal if Donal's in, but just not me. I would hope that my questions... I'm not anti-HSE, but, I have to ask Tony those questions. It doesn't mean I'm anti him or anti the HSE, but those are... What else am I to do here if it's not to, when people want me to advocate on their behalf and ask questions that are relevant to their lives? All right, loads more on the way.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, as we head into the last hour of the Monday edition of the 9 Til Noon Show at 11 o'clock, we say good morning once again to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Inishowen Municipal District have completed their Budget 2024 meeting. The brief meeting agreed to see €180,000 to be invested into local communities. Councillor Jack Murray, who chaired the meeting, says when the county budget is revealed, there'll be more negotiations as each councillor aims to see their proposals filled for the people who elected them. Donegal Minister Charlie McConalogue said he's been told by the Minister for Health that the HSE has been asked to deploy a specialist emergency department team. This is to assist Letterkenny University Hospital. It comes in a bid to resolve the ongoing issues faced by the department, particularly in relation to patient safety and wait times. Israel's president claims the Hamas fighters carried documents into his country detailing how to make chemical weapons. There has been no independent verification of the claims. Israeli strikes continue to hit Gaza in response to the militant group attack earlier this month, with a second delivery of aid now making its way in. PSNI in Tyrone are appealing for witnesses and information following the smashing of 2 windows at a house on Lechel Road in Killen. The incident happened on Thursday last between 6:25 and 7:45 p.m. Those who believe they can assist police inquiries are asked to call 101. And finally, more supports and cheaper childcare are needed to help mothers rejoin the workforce. OECD data shows Ireland has very low participation rates for mothers, particularly for those from a low educational background. The CSO's labour force survey for the second 3 months of this year shows 61% of working age women are in employment, compared to just over 70% of men, according to the Irish Times. Those are the latest headlines. The next news updates at 12 o'clock. In the meantime, keep up to date with all the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. For myself and the news team, good morning.
All right, Donna Marie, thank you very much indeed. Waiting over 3 years to see a neurologist, says Nolene. That's way too long, isn't it? Listening to this interview, Mr. Canavan either doesn't care about Letterkenny or is... well, they say either way Donegal's screwed. I can't cast those dispersions, but I appreciate your time. What a load of waffle. Mr. Canavan trying to justify blatant discrimination in the Cialta group in favour of Sligo and Galway. I would blame Cialta more than the government. Another, nurses for diabetes have been taken out of GP practices and everyone has to go to the hospital. Another one, that gentleman would seem to be agreeing with you on all the issues, but I don't hear that he's very anxious to get these issues sorted anytime soon. Also, could you mention ENT services in Letterkenny poor, to say the least? And just because of someone's phone demeanour, it doesn't mean they don't care, by the way, in fairness. I believe Mr. Canavan gets all the problems, and I'm sure he wants to do something about addressing them as has been outlined. But I think what we need now, what we deserve, and the tipping point that we're on at the moment is we... need things to change. We don't need to talk about the problems. We need someone to step in and change them. And yes, it's great that there's an external review of the ED, but I think it needs to go far beyond that. This is the ED is the face of the problem, but right all behind that, the ED is the tip of the iceberg, and all the problems right across the departments are the ice that you cannot see beneath the water. So I don't think if we focus on ED and say, yeah, great, 2 people on trolleys today, that doesn't tell the full story. Of course, we know that at this point now, don't we? We know the story. Can you ask that man how long should a toilet in a ward for 6 men be out of order prior to getting maintenance, or a plumber in to repair? Surgical ward, 6 men joined up with 6 in the next ward for at least 9 days in a hospital. 12 people using the one toilet. Is that true? I don't doubt that listeners, when I say it's true, I hope you know I'm not doubting you. It's rhetorical, really. I don't think there's an endocrinologist. I think he left and the replacement locum left. I could be wrong. There's also no diabetes dietitian in Letterkenny Hospital. Another Letterkenny hospital is not fit for purpose for the population in Donegal. A private hospital in Northern Ireland can do over 1,000 procedures per month, properly planned and scheduled. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Simple. The people of Donegal are suffering on a daily basis. The process is broken. Cancer patients getting a bus to Galway or Dublin, absolute joke. Someone needs to be a proper leader. If this was Dublin, it would not happen. The hospital needs to be the total focus, not just ED, is a comment there, indeed. I think I just made that point, and a lot of people would agree. Okay, keep them coming in. I do appreciate it. There's some questions coming in that I did ask. Has he made representations to the minister or the head of the HSC? The answer there was no. Okay, that's it. More comments on the way. We're going to switch our attentions to sport shortly. We want your views on yesterday's action, the weekend's action, 086 60 25,000. Brendan Devaney of the DL Debate's going to be joining us shortly.
Get ready for the most wonderful time of the year at Sister Sarah's Letterkenny. Secure your preferred party night now with fantastic food and a festive atmosphere throughout December. Sister Sarah's, proud sponsors of today's show.
Get ready for spooky season at Century Complex. This Halloween, we have a great selection of movies at Century Cinemas, delicious food and cocktails at Backstage Bar and Grill, and Century Plays Halloween Family Fun Day, taking place on the 28th of October from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Get in touch on 074 9121 976 or visit centurycinemas.ie for more information.
Don't know if you know Alice and Pat. Late 40s, couple of kids, been together 17 years. Never married, of course, but that's not a problem. Until something happens, and suddenly words like unmarried, inheritance, and substantial tax bill enter the equation. You never need proper estate planning. Until you do. That's why the experienced team at McElhenney & Associates are here to help. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranola.
This Halloween half-term, there are ghastly goings-on across Northern Ireland with the National Trust. Enjoy an enchanting Hallows Eve at Castle Ward. Sink your fangs into the new food fair at Florence Court's Harvest Festival of Colour. Tiptoe into the world of spooky trails and storytelling at Mount Stewart. And brave Finn's Frightful Fun Fest at the Giant's Causeway. With broomstick risks at Spring Hill and a monster market at Llewellyn Garden. Search National Trust NI.
Are the signs of aging creeping up on you? Are you not happy with the way you look or feel? At Letterkenny Medics Private Clinic, we're here to help you, offering Botox anti-wrinkle injections, derma fillers, skin bio injections, Botox treatment for grinding and clenching teeth, hyperhidrosis that aids excessive sweating. Let our doctors help bring back your confidence and look after what is important to you. To see what real results really look like, book your immediate appointment with no waiting time at letterkennymedics.ie. Letterkenny Medics, we listen if you want to talk.
Hi folks, Paul McDevitt here, inviting you to join myself and Jimmy Stafford this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions. On the show this week, we welcome back the brilliant local band Beefsteak Dancers, and ahead of his new album launch in Derry on the 29th of October, we say hello and welcome to the brilliant George Houston. Plus, we'll also be looking at some of the new music that's been released from around the country. So, that's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. right here on Highland Radio.
Okie dokie, welcome back to the 9 Til Noon Show. It's time to welcome onto the programme Brendan Devaney, presenter of the DL Debate. Good morning to you, Brendan. How are you getting on, Brendan?
I'm good, Greg. Yourself?
I am doing fine, thank you very much indeed. Right, okay, so Niamh Conall or something else. Did Guido turn up yesterday, or are Niamh Conall just that good? Controversial question just to get the ball rolling.
No, listen, you'd have to say it's Niamh Conall's ability, Greg. Listen, they're an unbelievable side, very well coached, disciplined, composure on the ball. They've got so many elements to their game, and I think for Gweedore this year, they probably didn't expect they'd be in a county final, and of course missing a few of their key players as well due to immigration and things like that. So they didn't probably have a full complement as well, and going up against Niamh Conall, even with the full complement, would have been very difficult. But it was completely one-sided. You've seen a very ruthless, well-drilled Niamh Conall team yesterday, and even though it ended up 118 to 1-8, Greg, it could have been a lot more than that.
And I mean this with no disrespect to Gweedore, but you also get the impression Niamh Conall will be kicking themselves. They conceded 1-8.
Yeah,
that's
possibly.
how good they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Listen, I interviewed the guys after the game. They made reference to that. Ethan O'Donnell, man of the match, and Alton Doherty and the manager Martin Regan. And you're always going to get spells in the game, Greg, when you're so far ahead. You automatically kind of fall back a small bit. But the fitness and everything about Niamh Conall, they are just the serious outfit. And at that stage, it was a tough day for Gweedore. They lost the reserve final as well, very narrowly to Rua before it. It was Kevin Cassidy's last day for the club as well, the legend that he is. He almost got a goal at the end, could have swung the game and hit the post with a wee flick on. So, yeah, it was a tough day for Gweedore. They had great support up there. But listen, two brilliant days for Rua. And, of course, Niamh Conall march on to play Gowna now on the 12th of November in Ulster. They're back-to-back champions in Ulster as well. So they're away from home in that one. But
how does Niamh Conall set up travel? Or how will it travel this year?
Well, they're a perfect team to go on the Ulster, you see, because as the weather gets poor, we were blessed yesterday with the day and the pitch was in it, but as the weather gets poor, when you have a team that's set up and they're a counter-attacking team, that's what they're brilliant at. Now, don't get me wrong, they pushed up in Gweedore yesterday, went after the kick-outs, really hammered them, won the majority of the Gweedore kick-outs in the first half and won all of their own. And when you're doing things like that, Greg, you're looking at the different elements. They weren't just going to sit and play how they played St. Eunan's. It was a very different Niamh Conall performance yesterday. So that's the different elements to them. So they have that in their locker room in the Ulster. They're very confident in what they do. So I think it's going to take a very good team to beat them. Where they go, as we know, Ulster's there's only 2 Donegal teams have ever won Ulster. So, it is a very difficult proposition, but they'll think themselves they've as good as chance as anybody going into it.
For sure. Right, so Jim McGuinness is now preparing his team for a game against Mickey Hart's Derry. If Jim McGuinness was sitting watching yesterday's final and watching the semis as well, how excited will he be about the pool that he has to draw on to go up against that Derry team?
Yeah, listen, I think he'll be very excited. It's been a good championship. I think from the way, in fairness to the 2 lads that stabilised Donegal last year, O'Rourke and Paddy Bradley, we've seen kind of the green shoots of this new team coming through, and we've spoken about many times, Greg, about the likes of course, of Michael retiring and the hole that was going to lead, and everything happened last year. So the fact that group of players was able to stabilise, and particularly you got to look to the Monaghan performance where we went up to Omagh and beat Monaghan, who were very close to being an All-Ireland final. So you add in Jim now and everything he's going to bring, plus there's going to be an extra 6 or 7 players back playing, and then you have, as I say, a good club championship behind us. So, they've gone and representing Donegal now, and I think they're by far the best team currently in the county. So, everything I think in terms of Donegal this year, and I mean, of course, Hart and McGuinness's, I suppose, personal battles over the years where Jim has come out on top the majority of times, makes that such an interesting, with everything, the backstory of Hart and Derry and all that as well. So the Ulster Championship, absolutely fascinating. I mean, should Donegal get over them, they were going to face either a Monaghan Cavan or Tyrone straight after it. And in many ways, Ulster is going to be unbelievable this year. But again, is that going to hamper them going into the group stage? Because so much is on the line already, and you just don't have that in other provinces. But listen, I think the mini All-Ireland series that we have in the Ulster Championship is going to be fascinating. But I think Donegal will be in a great place going into that game.
All right, okay. We were talking last week, and you set it up beautifully, the Moville story and the Narossa story. Narossa, of course, beating Moville in the Junior A Football Championship, but they're trying to get that genie back into the bottle now because Moville have lodged an objection to the outcome of that final. What's your take on that? And what's what chance does it have a success? Or what's your view even on a club protesting or objecting to a result?
It always makes you feel uncomfortable. You look at everything that's going on the whole year in terms of like Narossa, what they've put into it to get across the line in a final, and you think, is it going to now be challenged in the boardroom? But then again, you have to think, were Moville unjustly treated in that final? Were the rules broken? The objections in that the player was on the pitch, and funny, myself and Ryan Ferry were doing a commentary for Highland, and we made reference to it. I was saying, you feel it. It's funny, you watch football so much, Craig, you're like, hold on a second, there's a spare jersey here. Now, whether the player was injured or not, or how long he was on the pitch for, is it enough to affect the outcome of it? Was the rules broken there? How does the county board deal with that? If you look at the huge one last year with Glen and Kilmacudden in the All-Ireland final, the objection came in. There was a whole furore about this. In the end, a replay was granted, but then Glen withdrew the objection. So, we had the scenario a few years ago where Kilcarn, Lee Connell, the penalty shootout and the player that shouldn't have been. The county board just issued a fine there. A lot of people thought that could have been technically a replay. A fine was handed out. So listen, it's with the CCCC now. 3 C's, there's 4 C's in that national one. So Greg, what they take out of this, or what they think, is there enough in this to warrant a replay? This is the question, and I'm sure there's a few worried people around about Narossa at the minute. And of course, there's an Ulster Club Championship game to be coming up soon, if anything is to be done.
Yep, so they'll have to sort that out quick. You mentioned Ryan Ferry, your co-commentator on that game. He's on the show with you tonight, along with John Gilday and Stephen Cassidy, and also Mo O'Donnell. She was at the Termon Errigal Kieran game.
Yes, indeed. It was a tough day at the office now. Few sin bins, 3 sin bins for Termon didn't help them. And there was a certain Canavan in there. They had 3-11. She scored 3-8. 3-8, Greg. Absolutely phenomenal. So I text my mate then to McGinley. I says, right, which part of the bloodline Canavan is he? And she said, he was like, that's Peter Canavan's niece, current Errigal Kieran captain, Tommy's sister. So I was like, there you go. I says, the Canavans are at it again.
You went through full seasons not scoring 3-8.
Yes, yeah, possibly, yeah. I've no one here to back that up, so we'll park that, Greg. 3-8.
And I can say, because I've no evidence to suggest it's the case, I just thought it might be amusing, that's all.
Listen, we'll say no, but listen, you got to hand it. If anybody racks up something like that there, it's phenomenal. So listen, there go Kieran march on. So listen, tough and Terminators, and that's their season over for now. So we've intermediates, as I say, we're lining up against the Cavan teams. So we have our junior, intermediate, and senior champions and the men's side now all rolling on the Ulster. We want to wish them all the best as that competition kicks off.
All right, it's going to be a cracking show as always. John Gilday, Stephen Cassidy, Ryan Ferry, and of course Brendan Devaney and Mo O'Donnell going through all the action, reflecting on that county final, and also the crowd thinned out quite early in that game, didn't it? Or was that my imagination, or did they all decide to stand on the camera side? The crowd thinned out an awful lot early.
But I guess, right. Listen, from the get-go, there was a real feeling in the pit of your stomach when
first 5 minutes,
5 or 6 up before Gweedore registered. You know, there was a real level of one team on another level and the other team struggling to keep up. So it's a tough watch, Greg, for a neutral, I guess, you know. Okay. Particularly, my wee man, I was leaving him to his Nina there out in Wonder Years. He was still flying the wee Gweedore flag. Of course, my wife's Gweedore out the window. I was laughing to myself this morning. One of the cars were looking, probably thinking, who's this? Still flying the wee Gweedore flag out the window.
He's proud of the lads. All right, so the DL debate's live just after 7 o'clock tonight, and a full hour of conversation on all things GAA. One of the great nights I've had out in recent years was at your first charity ball, Brendan. It was formal and it was informal. There was plenty of chat about sport, but it was done in a really accessible way. I'd equate it to sort of when someone might watch the Beckham documentary but isn't a big football fan. You don't necessarily have to be to enjoy the chat and the crack. And it's back again, and it's only just around the corner.
That's it, 24th of November in the Mount Errigal Hotel, surely. Up with Terry there, looking after us as ever. So I'm really looking forward to it, Greg. We have comedians coming, and we have musical numbers on the night, and just looking to entertain. And I think it's the way to do things now, Greg. If you're going to ask people for donations and to help out in charities and that, it's always nice to attach it to something like a ball. And of course we have a GoFundMe as well, and if you search the Bees charity ball as well, people have been very kind. If they can't make it, they've been putting in donations there as well to obviously plan. Ireland, I was in Togo earlier in the year. We're going to launch a few videos in that. Brad O'Donnell was out, Lomis and Carol Wickham from Plan, and we went out to meet some of the kids that we sponsored. So we sponsored 21 kids on that night the last time, Greg, and we keep that sponsorship ongoing. And then,
but I just want to recap that if you don't mind, for those that attended it last year, so they know the difference they're making. €24,000 was raised on the night for 3 charities: Plan International Ireland, Cancer Care West, and Focus Ireland, and the funding from those donations for Plan International sponsored 21 children throughout the whole year. So in that one night where people had great crack and they were generous, don't get me wrong, the ripples from that night still continue now. You've got 21 young children supported through that, and that's really remarkable. I just want to go back on that, because sometimes we say things and it doesn't land, but that's really, really significant. And you were able to go over for yourself firsthand to see the impact that those donations on that night in the hotel in Letterkenny, they're being felt over there by young people and giving them the best possible route to a positive life for themselves. And you're going at it again. Plan International again is going to be one of the beneficiaries. The Donegal Hospice, of course, and Epilepsy Ireland, and all 3 really close to your heart, Brendan. So you're hoping for a sellout, which it will be. Half the table's already gone, but supporting 3 amazing charities there.
Yeah, listen, that's exactly it. And listen, Plan don't just help the kids, obviously, but first of all, nutrition, but education is huge. Like if we're going to, pull up the rest of countries in the world and progress them, the education is the key to that, and keeping the wee kids in their village and making them happy, and helping, with the likes of stopping early childhood marriage and the horrors of FGM and things like that. So they want to protect the whole community, not just the individual child. So it was great to see them. And I sponsored kids myself as well, Greg. So it was great to go out and meet them. The welcome we got in the community, Greg, was absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, looking back at the video, I still can't believe some of it's how it happened and that it happened, So it was fantastic to see. And I suppose it just strengthens in many ways. Obviously, Dad's last days was in the hospice, and epilepsy then was something that's affected her family greatly. And now, I suppose, in the memory of Margaret and Dad as well, I can attach, it's hard for me to even look and think that happened last year, but if I can put my energy into this and in their memory, it's the only way I can kind of actually confront the grief of what happened, is to kind of do a bit of help somebody else in their honour. Otherwise, I just park it, I just push it away. Life's busy and all that. So it's nice that on a night like this, I think I can truly kind of look back at things and.
Yeah, and you can honour those two really important people in your lives as well, which is incredibly special, and they'll not be far from anyone's thoughts there when people gather next month, Brendan. And a lot of people understand exactly what you're saying, because unfortunately we all have to encounter our awful challenges through our life. Okay, so I'll tell you, it's not a bad night out for €75. Table of 10, $7.50. You can get your tickets through us here at Highland Radio, the Arch Complex in Letterkenny, Sister Sarah's in Letterkenny, and the Mount Errigal Hotel in Letterkenny. So it's a fantastic night. Great food. The place is always beautifully laid out. There'll be a music. You're not going to sing, are you? Or are you? I don't know. Would that make me buy a ticket or not? Brendan might sing.
My wee lad was doing Cash on Word.
He sang 2 years ago. He's fantastic, young lad. Don't know where he gets his confidence from.
I have a couple of singers coming tonight. I like wee things that get good, I suppose music and a wee bit of drama mixed in. And,
excellent. But it's
we'll have a bit of crack.
Exactly.
It'll go well.
It's a great night out. Tickets also available in Sister Sarah's, the Mount Errigal Hotel in Letterkenny. So if you're a business out there, €750, and go along yourself and bring 9 of your staff, and we get Brendan guarantees you'll have a good night, but no refunds are available. Listen, Brendan, good luck with the show tonight, and hopefully now those tickets, I'm sure they'll fly out the door, because even the mere mention of it, I know that you sold a ton of them, because everyone knows it's a fantastic night out. So we'll chat again next week, Brent. Stay safe.
Appreciate it.
Thanks very much indeed. All right, Brendan Devaney there. 08660 25,000. Your WhatsApps and texts.
If you're thinking of buying a residential rental property, ICS Mortgages can provide an excellent range of flexible buy-to-let mortgages, including interest-only terms of up to 15 years. We'll also help you to refinance your existing portfolio and grow your property investments. Call 0818 427 427, visit icsmortgages.ie, or contact your local mortgage broker. ICS Mortgages, the property investor's choice. Winner of the Best Buy-to-Let Mortgage Provider 2023 award, as voted by the AIMA. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply and are subject to change. The entire amount that you have borrowed will still be outstanding at the end of the interest-only period. The Loss Act, trading as the Loss, and ICS Mortgages is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 Til Noon Show on Highland Radio.
At Sister Sarah's Gastropub Letterkenny, let us look after your Christmas party needs this December with excellent food and entertainment in Letterkenny's premier venue, 912238. Sister Sarah's, proud sponsors of today's show.
I'm Lorraine Keane, and I hate feeling tired and hormonal. Yet that's exactly how I felt when my perimenopause started in my late 30s. For nutritional support, I chose Irish supplement Clean Marine Menamin. Why? Because Menamin contains omega-3, vitamin D, and also vitamin B6, which contributes to the regulation of hormonal activity and helps reduce tiredness. All in just 2 capsules a day. Ask for Menamin at health stores and pharmacies, or learn more at cleanmarine.ie. I'm glad I did.
We go through a lot to connect with our family. That's why Vodafone Red Family now rewards you with a minimum of €20 off every month when you add broadband to your plan. So moments like getting the dog they desperately wanted can be more rewarding after you've fed it, walked it, cleaned it, played with it, walked it, taken it to the vet, and walked it again. Search Vodafone Red Family or go in store. Vodafone. Together we can.
Offer subject to being a 3rd to 6th connection joining a Red Family account on a Bill Pay Mobile or Vodafone Home Broadband plan. For full terms, see vodafone.ie/Red Family.
New season of fabrics have arrived in store at Fabric World Maydown. On trend and in stock, we have all the fabrics you need. Thousands of curtains, upholstery and craft fabrics at incredible stock prices. Call in for your free curtain design and quotation at Fabric World Derry. Great Euro rates for all our Euro customers.
Come and experience awesome this weekend at Connolly's 2019 Mercedes-Benz Motor Show at Leonard Kenny Golf Club, November 2nd and 3rd. Test drive the entire 2020 range, along with a selection of Mercedes-Benz certified used cars. You can also view the Mercedes-Benz, the all-electric EQC, CLS, AMG 53, CLA Coupe, A-Class Saloon, and the all-new GLE. Book your test drive at testdrive@connellys.ie or call into us today on November 2nd and 3rd at Leonard Kenny Golf Course. Full driver's license required on day of test drive. CLS AMG static display only.
Want to live a more sustainable lifestyle, but not too sure how to start? Join me, Donna Marie Doherty, every Tuesday at 12:30 for It's Ours to Protect to learn all the tips and tricks. Ours to Protect is funded by Commission Naman with a television licence fee and is a partnership between Highland Radio and the Independent Broadcasters of Ireland. Check out ourstoprotect.ie for more info.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time just turning 27 minutes past 11. You're very welcome back to the 9 Til Noon Show. It's time for Monday Focus, where we put to one side a bit of information to talk in greater detail about an issue. Our guest today is Conor McGinty, who is just recovering from an operation to treat gynecomastia, which is the enlargement of the male breasts, usually due to a hormone imbalance or genetics. Good morning, Conor. How are you feeling, by the way?
Hi, great. All right. I'm laid up in bed, but grand so far.
Okay.
So far, annoying.
Talk to me about this condition and how it affects people. At what age does it start affecting them, and what impact might it have on someone? We'll just start with the condition itself first, if that's okay.
So gynecomastia is something actually I only really found out about 10 years ago, but I've had it from about 16 years ago, from the age of 12 or 13. So essentially what it is obviously all males, all females have breast tissue.
Mm-hmm.
A male is supposed to have a very limited amount of breast tissue, and unfortunately for some males, when they go through puberty, they'll gain extra breast tissue around the chest area, and then it regresses, it goes away once puberty is finished. But for some, it stays, and if it stays, it means that certain hormone, the estrogen hormone that women have, can be a wee bit more prominent, or it can fight against the testosterone in men,
mm-hmm.
and then the condition just progressively and gradually gets worse. So there's a difference between, a man that maybe is overweight and has fat tissue, and then someone with gynecomastia is a man that has essentially female breast tissue, glands, and then glandular breast tissue in their breasts. So it's not something that a man particularly wants to have.
And obviously the visual impact of it is the growth of breasts, but obviously it's caused then by a bit of genetics and a hormone imbalance. So obviously your hormones are out of skew. Does it affect you? Does it affect you in any other way other than the sort of physical presentation of it, Conor?
Well, that's the question. There's a big question mark over. In my mind, and obviously I'm not a doctor, so I can't say this, but I think it's caused a lot of, anxiety and depression and things like that over the years, or made me more susceptible maybe to it. But
I presume, though, medical professionals will then say to you, well, that's the distress of the growth of breasts, and it's not a chemical reaction as such, it's a psychological reaction. But you would dispute that?
I would probably dispute it, but at the same time, I have no evidence for that. Obviously, it's just my own thoughts. But all boys in puberty have hormone imbalances, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I've been told by the doctors, and it's just when you're leveling out or whatever, 13, 14, 15, it all fixes itself and corrects itself, and then everything's fine. And unfortunately for those that have gynecomastia, it doesn't correct itself. But then once the breast tissue is formed, and it gets worse, the hormone imbalance then actually does correct itself anyway, but it's too late. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my hormones now have all been checked, and I've had them checked for years, maybe 10 years now, and everything's fine. Everything's perfect. I've had God knows how many blood tests over the years, and everything's fine and healthy, and
good.
Everything's great. It's just this physical symptom was then left.
And you can imagine a million scenarios where this would have been very difficult for a teenager and a young man. Stuff that we might take for granted, being on holidays, sports, I don't know, depending on whether you're sporty or not, but loads of different reasons as to why, this would have a big impact, particularly on the younger mind, Conor.
100%. It was, I think my family and the people closest to me have only really discovered the full extent of it this last year since I decided that surgery was what I was having. But it really sort of wrecked my teenage years and my childhood. I'd say from the age of 12, 13, right through to a week ago, I was having bad sort of day-to-day issues up to a week ago before the surgery with it. So it's I think it started really the first time I was really aware of it was a PE at school, and the bullying that I would have got at PE, and then realising it was different to everybody else, and seeing taller fellas in class, athletic fellas, and I was athletic. I was a cross country runner, played a wee bit of football. I wasn't overweight, I was skinny.
Yeah, but the more lean you get, the more pronounced this breast growth gets, because it's not fat, so to speak.
Exactly, and I had been to a few personal trainers over the years as well, who obviously were giving me the wrong advice because they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
They were saying, it's fat, lose weight and get fit. So I remember doing these crazy 6 and 10 week transformations, and everybody saying to me, you're looking fantastic. And then when I was taking my top off, I was going, what the hell's wrong here? This, obviously, because of the glandular tissue, you can't burn it. It's not like normal fat. You can't burn it away.
Yeah. And did you feel that everyone was always looking at you, that no matter what you tried to do, everyone knew, and most of your life, if you were to go outdoors, was spent trying to conceal this, even perhaps when people weren't aware? Was it always the thing right at the front of your mind that it's all about this?
Yeah.
Which is incredibly understandable. And very draining on your mental health. That's also very understandable, Conor.
Yeah. Every second of every day, it was a thought in my head. And it's funny, I put that post up the other day on Facebook to raise a wee bit of awareness about it, obviously, and hopefully that maybe, if there's a young boy out there that was in my position that sees it and sees that there's a wee bit of hope, because I didn't really have any hope when I was at that age.
And I also wonder how many people, Conor, aren't diagnosed or... I don't know, try and conceal it with weight gain, or do you know what I mean? And it depends how pronounced it is, how large the breast growth is. Obviously, I presume it's like with a woman, some are going to be smaller than others and less pronounced than others. So you might not obviously know it's what they have, but they themselves know what they have because they stand and look at themselves in the mirror. So you just wonder, how much of this is out there troubling people undiagnosed.
I'd say there's a lot, and to be honest, the amount of messages that I've got over the last day or two, some of them quite serious actually, which is a wee bit concerning. But one guy in particular, if you want me to, I'll talk about a few. Obviously, I'm not giving any names, but one guy in particular had sent me a message, and he said, I feel your pain, Conor. He says, in 2015, I was told that I had the same condition and not to worry about it, that it would never be anything serious. He says, in 2019, his right nipple inverted after tests and biopsies, and they concluded that he had a thing called invasive ductal carcinoma, which is breast cancer. And then in 2022, it was confirmed he had the BRCA2 mutated gene, and he was told that in 2023, a couple of months ago actually, that the cancer had spread to his lungs and he was stage 4. So I've been chatting to that guy, and he's saying that he was going to the NHS the same as me with this condition, and they were telling him, look, it's nothing to worry about, it's cosmetic. That's how they say. That's what they say. They say it's cosmetic and nothing to worry about, and this is the situation that he's in now. But I would really disagree with that.
Was that part of your motivation to have the surgery? to reduce the risk of you developing breast cancer? One would have to imagine, you're not a doctor, or I'm not, but the chances, I mean, men get breast cancer, but you must have felt that, does this make me more prone to it?
Yeah, well, my granny had breast cancer, and obviously it was always a thought in my head. I think that maybe it was more for me, it was how it looked and how I felt and playing football and going out gigging and wearing shirts and pulling at them and tugging at them and just being so unhappy with my own body. I just never felt like my body was mine. You know, this, and my wife always said to me, "Oh, Connor, it doesn't really bother me," and you know, but you know, now that I've had the operation and people have actually seen the before and afters, like even my wife goes to me now, she said, I never realised actually how pronounced it was.
Yeah.
Until I see you now with it.
But also too, Connor, I mean, you've a bit of work to do now, because obviously you had the operation last week and that's fine, but there's, you know, you've been conditioned a little bit with having it for so long, so you know, you have to watch yourself now for the next wee while, because it's, you know, everything you hoped might not be delivered just by the operation, and you have to make sure look after yourself now over the next while as you get used to it, both physically and mentally, emotionally, Connor.
Yeah, I think that's the scariest part too, you know, because this last 16 years, as you say, I've built up a lot of deep-rooted habits, I'd say. You know, my posture's terrible. I was always leaning forward. I was always covering myself, things that other people were picking up on, but obviously didn't realise what it was for.
Yeah.
And then the biggest thing of them all was this whole condition left me, as I talked about on the Facebook post I put up, like, you know, suicide in my mind a lot of time over the last 16 years because of it, and then mental health counselling and things that I got, and I ended up with diagnoses, one in particular, which was a body dysmorphia, and then health anxiety as well, which is just one of the few.
But that's
so
all really understandable. I mean, you'd have to be completely bulletproof to not feel those things. Body dysmorphia, health anxiety. Do you know what I mean? Particularly, especially too when you become, when people start messaging you, oh, I understand that, and go through their experience. It's an awful lot for anyone to take on, Connor. So you've looked after yourself physically now, and you can rebuild your life and address a lot of the issues, and just make sure that you look after yourself now, you know, mentally over the next wee while. And I'm sure you're going to have a lovely, long and happy life now that hopefully this is behind you, Connor.
Yeah, 100%. And as I say, like, it's mad to think that, you know what I'm saying, at nearly 30 years of age, the world looks like a bigger place, and it really does. Good. Like, you know, it looks...
And you obviously have a clearly very loving and understanding partner as well.
Oh, 100%. Allison's brilliant. And, you know, she was even saying to me today, she was sort of saying, like, you know, look at, over the last maybe 10 years, I've done a good wee bit with some music and stuff. I was on ITV and X Factor, and this, that, and I released a few albums, gigging and all that stuff. She's like, you did this while you had to deal with that, so imagine
what you can do now.
Career-wise now over the next 10 years, like, you don't have to worry about it. So
even at the gym, you're going to kick its ass now.
100%. I can't wait to get to the gym.
All right. Well, listen, stay positive, stay strong. And hopefully, and I'm sure you already know that your words and you publicly speaking in and of itself is a huge achievement. So you have amazing strength and capacity, Connor. And look after yourself, and I wish you nothing but happiness going forward.
Hey, thanks, William, Greg. Much appreciated.
Take care of yourself, Connor, and thanks for that.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
'Tis almost the season to indulge. Secure your staff party or get-together at Sister Sarah's Letterkenny. Christmas party nights now available to book on 9122238. Sister Sarah's, our proud sponsors of today's show.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
The Cassidys here in Bundoran used to often wonder,
is this a good time to use the dishwasher?
when they signed up to ESB Networks' Is This a Good Time programme, they learned that there's more renewable electricity available when it's windy out, which helps us all on our journey to a clean electric future.
Right, is everything in?
Go to esbnetworks.ie/time to sign up today. ESB Networks, energising your everything.
Hi, Kate Appleby here. Just wanted to let you all know my exciting new autumn shoe collection is available nationwide in all good shoe stores. kateappleby.com. Hope you enjoy my shoes.
Workwear at Borderland Muff. Skiwear at Borderland Muff. For fashion jeans, winter coats and footwear. Christmas and Skiwear Club now open at Borderland Muff. Stocking Columbia, Vans, Apache, Snickers and more. Open 7 days. Borderlandmuff.ie.
We're all going on holiday! How would you like to go on the holiday of a lifetime? Then why not join us for the Highland Radio Hoolie in sunny Salou? Spend 7 nights in the sun with some of Ireland's top entertainers, including Robert Mazzell, Jim Devine, Margot, Claudia Buckley and many more, with live music all day, every day. Staying in the beautiful 4-star Sol Costa Jurata Hotel, this is a trip not to be missed. Book now by calling Country Music Tours on 074 9119 955 or email info@countrymusictours.ie. We'll see you in sunny Salou.
Excuse me. Now, you would know that the traffic lights at the Polestar roundabout in Letterkenny, it's a very important route into and through Letterkenny and out of Letterkenny as well. They were switched on. There's a couple of weeks of tweaking with them and trying to get them synchronised correctly for the free movement of traffic, but we're 1 week odd in, and Emmett Rush is the owner of Rush Fitness, and he joins us on the programme now. Emmett, your reaction so far, I suppose as a motorist, but as a business owner.
Yeah, they're not really doing their job, Greg, too well for our side of the town anyway. I think the main traffic in Letterkenny, from what we see from our members and from the people in the business parks up around this side of town, it seems to be coming down the Milton Road, sort of past Arena 7, and then down from the business park road from Mountaintop down. It all converges at that small roundabout at Thomas Keys, and then the next roundabout after that is the Ballyrain roundabout, and that would be the main blockade into town. So the traffic lights, their main purpose was meant to be improve congestion, but the left lane leading out of town when you're passing the Mount Errigal, to me, I thought that it looked like they were creating a slip lane, which would have left the traffic free flowing to allow that blockade that always happens in that side of town to leave town, to leave it that the lights would control people going through town or back into town. But it hasn't happened, and I came in yesterday, which isn't a busy day on a Sunday, and the traffic was backed up again past Arena Selvin up their Milton Road at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, which never happens unless it's a bank holiday weekend.
And also, too, particularly with your type of business, Emmett, and correct me if I'm wrong at all here, but, you know, if you're looking to book a membership of a gym or something that you're going to visit on a regular basis, you do factor in accessibility and what have you. Yeah. And you know, it's a competitive area, I am sure. You don't want anything that's going to discuss anyone from signing up.
Yeah, well, no business wants that. Yeah. I mean, last week when the lights got turned on, we had members messaging that took 40 minutes to travel 1 kilometre to try and get down to the business park where they would have been booked in for a 5:10 session, and they made it at 6:10. And that was then coming from the mountaintop down to us, which is 1 kilometre. And it took 40 minutes, and they would sat for 10 minutes before they came in the door. That only ever happens on bank holiday weekends in Letterkenny whenever the northern traffic's coming back through, and that's our side of town always gets that sort of traffic. But for it to be happening now, nearly daily, from the light turn on, it's not improving congestion. And Letterkenny has a serious issue with congestion, and the lights were meant to improve that. And for, I don't know what it's like on the other side of town for the businesses on the other side of town, but for our side of town anyway, it has not improve congestion at all.
And in fact, you would argue it's creating congestion on certain routes, slowing traffic down.
Well, when you come in on a Sunday on a non-busy day and traffic is backed up there on Melton Road, they're not doing their job. Sunday's traffic should be pretty free-flowing whenever it's not overly busy, but it wasn't on this side of town. And again, this side of town seems to get it more than, I'm not sure if it gets it more than other side of towns on the main busy times, because we only come from this side.
Yeah.
But after Melton Road traffic, and the traffic comes down from all the business parks, you have thousands of people that are leaving work around the same time that congregate onto these roads.
Mm-hmm.
So that left lane out of town past the Mount Errigal should be a free-flowing lane, because any traffic coming around from any other side of town can merge into the right lane, so they're not interfering with the left lane to allow it to get away from town to free up the town from traffic. I mean, there has to be joined up thinking with what they're doing. The issue with Letterkenny has always been that we need a relief road out of town, but when they were doing that work from the 4 lane, it was meant to, we were promised it would improve congestion, and we're coming into another Christmas time, and it's that, I mean, my business is my business, but I mean, there's other businesses around the town that are probably looking at that traffic and congestion going, we're going to get hit again, where people are going to decide it's too much hassle to go to Letterkenny.
Well, that's it. You see, that's the risk, indeed. Okay, Emmett, listen, thanks for your insight. I really do appreciate it.
No
that's
problem.
Emmett Rush there, owner of Rush Fitness. You a business person with a similar view, and just as we were listening to Emmett there, watching a video edited and produced by Pranchius Carr on YouTube, which gives a real indication from above how traffic is moving there, but it tells us how traffic's moving on the roundabout and is very useful. But it doesn't really talk to the issues further up the line that Emmett there was referencing. Well done, Greg. A good interview with Tony Canavan. Hope they'll take it on board, all the issues you mentioned. Mr. Canavan set up an inquiry clinic. Guess where? His own county, Roscommon. What a surprise. I would have... It would have been encouraging to hear a slightly firmer commitment on a minor injuries clinic for Donegal. We need it. It would be a huge difference. Well, it would be a significant difference for Letterkenny University Hospital, particularly the ED there and elsewhere. But it was like, we'll see. There's a review of what's going on at the moment elsewhere, but we know they're working really well. It just doesn't seem to be on the cards or agenda. That would be my reading. Government does not care if we put 100,000 people on the streets. As far as they're concerned, the worst that will happen is that they lose 1 TD each. Very simple maths, folks, says the listener. Okay, I'm going to get through as many of those comments as I can as I take a quick break, and then we'll be back.
Prepare for the merriest time of the year at Sister Sarah's Letterkenny. Plan your unforgettable Christmas party now with fantastic food and festive fun this December. Sister Sarah's are proud sponsors of today's show.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the Made to Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365 on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Entries are now open for the 2023 Europe Direct Letterkenny Soapbox Public Speaking Competition. There'll be an under 17 and an over 17 category. Entrants will have 3 minutes to speak on the following topic. There's no such thing as a vote that doesn't matter. It's more important than ever to build a better future by voting in the EU Parliament elections. The Soapbox competition will take place in the Central Library, Letterkenny, on Thursday, 26th of October at 6 p.m. For an application form, please email eudirect@donegallibrary.ie. Donegal County Council, supporting our communities.
Are you building a new home? Building requirements state that you must install a radon barrier. At FF Radon Systems, we supply and professionally install the fully certified barrier. For more information, call Liam at FF Radon Systems on 086 833 2749.
If you've got a smart meter, you should get an Electric Ireland smart meter plan too. Why? Because you can see a breakdown of your energy usage like never before. from heating, cooking, lighting, and more. Now you can find out exactly how much electricity you use by hour, day, and type of appliance, making your usage clearer and your world brighter. Sign up to a smart meter plan at electricireland.ie. Smart meter required, T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport, where you can now fly daily to London Heathrow with Aer Lingus and connect via Heathrow to over 80 destinations worldwide, including Boston, New York and more.
Okay, so it was... I don't have the weather in front of me. I'm opening it up here now. It was a wet morning, wasn't it? What's the rest of the day got in store for us? The rain will move off to the north later this afternoon, followed by scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees in an easterly breeze. Dr. Mary McCreary is a dietitian nutritionist and joins us on the programme now. Good morning, Mary. Thanks for the time today.
Good morning to you too.
It's good to have you on the show. Right, we're discussing... gut health. And is it particularly important at winter time? And what is gut health, I suppose? Two questions for you.
Okay, right. Well, this is the campaign that's been run by Yakult to try and advise the general public basically on two things. Number one, what is your gut health? And then your winter gut health. Now, there's so many myths and misinformation there is about how to keep healthy, what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating, that some of it is actually down to just very basic information as how we can actually keep healthy. So let's look at it, first of all, about your gut health. A lot of people are under the impression that your immune cells are in your nose and in your throat, whereas in actual fact, 70% of our immune cells reside in your gut. So it's really, really important to actually make sure that you have very, very good health. Now, basically, what is that? We're talking about your gut microflora, and we've got good bacteria, and they're really, the good bacteria are really the gatekeepers to your immune system, and they try and ward off any type of bad bacteria that could come in viruses. So getting a really, really good diet is very important, and keeping during the winter months, keeping up the consumption of your fruits and your vegetables and your high fiber foods. Mm-hmm. So where frozen vegetables are as nutritious as fresh vegetables, whereas people tend to think that they're somehow not as good. And using frozen fruit to make into your smoothies, and making sure that you have high fiber foods as well. So the two things that people think that we should be doing is, number one, that we should be taking a vitamin C supplement during the winter months, but that actually is not correct information. What we should be doing is taking a vitamin D supplement. We live in the Northern Hemisphere, so our exposure to sunlight is very limited during the winter months from about October to April. So it is recommended that everybody takes a vitamin D supplement during those winter months.
So are we better trying to keep our vitamin C levels up through our diet, but because of course vitamin D is harder to draw from your diet, go down the route of a supplement for vitamin D?
Yes, exactly. I mean, you can get your vitamin C, your full daily requirement of vitamin C, in one small glass of orange juice. Mm-hmm. So, to have the vitamin C naturally in your diet, you don't need the vitamin C supplement, but we definitely do need the vitamin D supplement. As you say, we don't get it from a lot of foods. We can get it from oily fish, so things like salmon, liver, red meat and eggs, and we have vitamin D added to what's called fortified food. So that would be the likes of breakfast cereal and Yakult Balance. But it's so important that we actually take that vitamin D supplement as well. And even though you might be sitting inside on a sunny day, you can't absorb the vitamin D through the glass.
In terms of liquids, you have different conversations with people about they count various things towards their liquid intake, which is generally, I thought, referred to water. What is to maintain good gut health? How much should we be drinking, and should it be at least a minimum water?
It doesn't have to be water. It has to be fluid, and at least 6 to 8 glasses a day of fluid. Now, that can be milk, it can be water, it can be tea, it can be your fruit juice, it can be any type of fluid. But fluid is really, really important. So when you eat your food, fluid is really, really important to aid in the absorption of the nutrients and to move the food through your digestive system. And it's one of the main causes of why people suffer from constipation, is because they don't drink enough fluid. But it can be any fluid. Now, alcohol doesn't count in that, but any other fluid, it does count as fluid. So, as the nation of tea drinkers, just keep on drinking your cups of tea. It doesn't have to be water. It doesn't have to.
And just finally, Doctor, because we're quite short on time, maybe how important then to our gut health is, being as stress-free as possible and getting a good night's sleep?
Well, there's a lot of information that shows that by being stressed actually can really affect not only your mental health but your physical well-being as well, because of this hormone cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So it's obviously to try and remove as much stress out of your life. Easier said than done, but keeping up your good diet, a little bit of exercise, keeping up your fluid intakes, the basic things that we all should be doing to keep ourselves healthy. But for anybody that is particularly interested, Yakult have a whole area on yakult.ie on the winter gut health guide. So that's actually very informative and very well worthwhile checking.
Lovely stuff, Doctor. Thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely day. That was Dr. Mary McCreary, a dietitian nutritionalist, talking about the importance of your gut health over winter and its relationship with your immune system. Right, very close to the end of the programme. Just a couple of comments here. Had two relatives in LUH recently, were in VHI, kept in over the weekend, discharged first thing Monday morning. Why not discharged Friday evening? The VHI are paying, they say. Thank you, Greg. You were great. Times past the local doctors treated chest infections and did stitches. Now one has to travel to Letterkenny for these. And last, we need a bigger hospital for all the extra people in Donegal now. The government don't look at services needed when agree to take in people from abroad. And where's all the money they're getting being spent? Those in the council and the Dáil need to get into the real world. Listen, thanks so much for a really positive reaction to the show today. And we're going to do it all again tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. For me, Greg Hughes, and researcher producer Caroline O. Have a lovely day, and don't go anywhere, because John Bresson's going to keep you informed and entertained around the Northwest next.